Yes, guys, welcome back to my personal channel. Welcome back to another video for you guys. This is one that I've been looking forward to. I mean, the more that we've got to midway point of the season, the less I've been looking forward to this video. But we're still going to do it anyway. It's the half-time point of the season, which means it's the perfect time to sit here and try and rank our players' performance. We're going to try and do it from an individual point of view, because if we do it as a team, it's just going to get hella depressing. But, of course, I had to go and get the best panel possible for you guys. We're going to start from left to right. Lawrence, first off, how's your weekend, man?
Well, all right, I guess, with one exception on Tuesday night.
Gosh, thanks, Wayne. Big up yourself, bro. Fucking hell.
Big up,
Wayne. That, bro. Yeah, go on, Lawrence.
Yeah, no, like I said, decent week other than obviously Tuesday night. That was another deflating evening, shall we say, because things are just not well right now. Whether it's all this debate, is Frank getting sacked? Is he not? How long does he get? Who comes in instead? If he does get sacked, it's a nightmare. It honestly is a nightmare. But like Scott said before we went on air, there has been positives that kind of don't seem like positives right now because everything's so doom and gloom right now. So, let's see what our player ratings and stuff will be. But, it's not been good recently, shall we say.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see the reigns of some of these players, especially seeing as we've been awful for long periods. But for some of the players, especially in an individual sense, they might have actually even been improving. Alex, we'll move on to you, man. How's your week been, bro?
Yeah, getting by, aside from the result on Tuesday, not being too bad. Well done on 20K, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for that, bro. Big up everyone who subscribed as well. If you guys haven't subscribed, we haven't stopped at 20K. Now we're just 1/5 of the way to 100K. So if you guys still haven't hit the subscribe button, check it out. Subscribe button is literally down below. And the link to these guys' lovely channels as well. Sadiq, we're going to go to you, man. How's your week been?
Oh.
Can't hear you, You're muted. One sec.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
It's all good, man. I mean, same old. Everyone just streaming together, bringing us all together. Really, that's the most important thing. Getting through difficult times, but hopefully Chelsea start winning their games.
Yeah, hopefully. And to be honest, Scott, I will start with you for this one as well. Before we go player by player, as a season in general, at the midway point, what are your thoughts right now?
I don't think it's been terrible. I think we're just on a bit of a bad run of form.
Below par, man. Below par right now.
I don't think it's been like if you take the league where we are in the league out of context. If you just take that out of it, I don't think it's been too bad. I think the problem is because of how the league's looking and how weird this season is. It looks like we're doing terrible. But I think, as I said, it's just a bad run of form in a minute. I don't think that bad run of form is going to get better anytime soon with the way things are going. But I think overall, as the halfway point, it's not been terrible. We've seen positives just as we've seen negatives.
Yeah, Lawrence, I'll go to you as well. What are your points around the midway point of the season?
I mean, it's a tough one because the start was a bit, not going to say dodgy, but a bit like, on and off, shall we say. We had a couple of good results, a couple of bad results. I mean, it started off with a 3-0 win, a 3-1 win at Brighton, pardon. But that was one of those games, a bit like the West Ham game just before Christmas. We got the win, but we weren't exactly great, even though we scored 3 goals. I mean, a banger from Reece James, but it started like a little bit how the rest of the season went after that. Of course, then we started losing a few games. The Liverpool game happened, and then Frank decided to be a bit more pragmatic for a few games. The 0-0 against United, the 0-0 against Sevilla. And then that was kind of almost early in our unbeaten run. And we started getting better and better and better. We battered Burnley, we battered Sheffield United, we battered Leeds. But things just weren't quite happening for us. Kai Havertz caught a certain thing that, we're not meant to catch, hopefully. And then we had injuries. At the start of the season, Mason Mount was playing on the wing, even though Callum Hudson-Odoi was fit. Ziyech was injured. Pulisic was injured. It's been on and off. But then we had this brilliant run where I think all of us, let's not kid ourselves, got a bit ahead of ourselves. I mean, I was saying we're not going to win the league, but we might win the league. And, now I look like a super person because of saying that. But I think a lot of us were thinking that, saying everything's brilliant. And then from one day to another, that Leeds game literally annihilated all of us physically, it seems. Because after that, it's just been a shambles. Yes, we got that 3-0 win over West Ham and then the 1-0 over Fulham. But since then, it's just been poor. And, you know what's going on Twitter. And, Frank Lampard just crosses and vibes, no tactics and all of these things. But some players in form, some players out of form, and that's my biggest issue. The players are so incredibly inconsistent. They'll have a good game, then I have 2 or 3 bad ones, then I have 2 or 3 good ones, and 2 or 3 bad ones. None of them can put a run of form together that seems like will last for a little while.
Yeah, I think consistency, if you're going to use one word for what you've been lacking for long periods of season, it is consistency. Alex, I'll go to you last. Thoughts on the season so far, and would you say it was our most dominant game as well? Because like the more we think about it, it's really hard to figure out points where we looked at our best. But where would you say that would be for us?
You know what? Yeah, I'd say this season overall has been a disappointment. If you look from the start of the season, then it's quite clearly, a bit of an anticlimax. But, what I will say is obviously, we've had injuries here and there, but I don't really think that's an excuse because you see the likes of Leicester and Liverpool still up there. Liverpool have had ample injuries, and Leicester have had a few injuries to their backline. Some good players missing. So, yeah, but in terms of our most dominant game, to be honest, there haven't been that many when for the duration of the match we've looked like a constant threat, especially when we've been picking up some points. It's a case of, we'll look good in the first half or the second half. And it's very rare that, we start well and we keep that same momentum for 90 minutes. So I don't know. I thought we were all right at Newcastle away. Burnley, yeah, we weren't too bad either.
Palace.
Leeds overall, I'd say we're all right, but Leeds are a team that sort of leave themselves exposed when they come at you. So I don't know. Southampton, we played some decent football in the first half, but didn't keep it up. So there's been spells, but there's not really one game where I can say we've been like breathtaking to watch, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think even the wins like the ones against Burnley, they didn't leave you like in full shock or anything. Like the teams that we've beaten have all been the teams that we've expected to be, and the teams that we struggled against are the teams that we're meant to be competing against. And that's just basically been the story of the season for us. But we'll start off with the season player ratings now. We'll start with the goalkeeper, Edouard Mendy. Now, for him, I think he's had over 10 clean sheets already at the start of the campaign, which all in all recognises a good run for him. He has had a bit of a shaky December, same way with the rest of the squad. Been responsible for maybe a few goals, but other than that, I think it's been an overly positive start to his Chelsea career for him.
I agree, and I think what's weird is after having Kepa for the last couple of seasons, it's weird watching a keeper actually have command of his area on set pieces. It's weird to see.
Yeah, and that's been one of the massive positives of him as well. We were one of the worst teams in terms of dealing with set pieces until Edouard Mendy came into the side. And since then, we've barely had to deal with any problems. I mean, granted, the Leicester one at the very least, but that was nowhere near Mendy's fault.
No.
He's been an absolute rock at the back. A couple errors here and there, but nowhere near the amount that we were seeing last season under Kepa and Caballero. All in agreement? What rating are we going for, guys?
I'd go 7. I'd go 7.
Yeah,
Strong
7.
start, a bit of a dodgy period, giving away the penalty against Everton. In particular, I thought against Arsenal, City could have done better for the first 2 goals. But overall, there's obviously been a massive improvement on Kepa, especially at the start. It was crazy. And hey, even though we lost 2-0 at Leicester, Mendy was actually brilliant. I mean, he made 2 or 3 really, really good saves late in the first half and then in the second half as well.
Yeah, someone said the only real weakness I've seen from Mendy is saving penalties. Other than that, he's looked a bit rash once or twice, but like I'm nitpicking if I go after him once or twice, and what's been an otherwise really solid season for him.
To be fair, though, I was gonna say in terms of the saving pens thing, I can name it like I can name the amount of keepers that are like really good at saving penalties on like one hand. Like in terms of in like history or just off the top of my head and currently in the Prem and whatnot, or just in the world. So like not being able to save pens, like I don't really care at the end of the day. I'd more care about not giving away the pens than saving the pens.
Exactly that. All right, so we all sold on a 7 for Edouard Mendy.
Yeah, I'd say a 7 as well. Yeah.
All right, cool. That's a 7 for Edouard Mendy. We'll move to the next player. Who should we start with? We'll go Olivier Giroud because I want to keep going on a positive note. Lawrence, we'll go with you. Olivier Giroud for the season. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's a tough one to judge because obviously at the start of the season he didn't really play, but obviously you can't really hold that against him. So when he did play, I would probably go for a 7 as well. Obviously he did play against Spurs in the League Cup when we ended up losing on penalties. He was absolutely diabolical in that. Probably one of his worst games he's ever had for Chelsea, which is one of the reasons why he didn't play for so long until around that Sevilla game, or just before it. But that Sevilla game was so good. I would probably also go for a 7. I think anything higher, he had too many off games. Too many being 2 or 3, but he's played how many? 8, 9? He hasn't started more games than that. So a 2 or 3 is actually not that little if you look at it in that context. So I would go for 7, but I can understand why some people in the chat are putting 7.5, 8. Yeah. But I could also understand a 6 if I'm going to be totally honest with you, because the Sevilla game was great, but it's not been. I don't feel when Oli plays up top, I don't feel like he's going to get us a goal most likely, but it doesn't feel like the striker that I'm like, he's going to win us a game. He's going to get you a goal, but not win you the game. Not saying the other ones are, but he is neither. And, statistically, we do tend to get more points when Tammy plays, especially when Werner is on the wing. Giroud, because of who he is and how he plays, Werner is completely isolated on the wing. So there are pros, there are cons, but I'd say a 7 is fair because he can't really be blamed for the player he is. Lamps shouldn't just play him and Werner together, I guess.
Yeah, I think you've said it perfectly, to be honest. We've looked a lot more dominant in the air when he plays, but same way I do think Tammy Abraham and Timo Werner link up a lot better than Timo Werner and Olivier Giroud does. Whenever it's Olivier Giroud on the pitch, I see Timo Werner, he's basically moving like a substitute, just hugging the touchline for most of the game. Seems a lot more closer and a lot more centrally under Tammy Abraham. But as a player, when he's played, for the most part, he is impressed. Is he our joint highest goal scorer or is he our second highest goal
he's
scorer?
joint with Werner at the minute.
Yeah, with minimal
in the league,
game
Tammy
time
is
as
highest,
well.
I think, right?
In terms of all comps, it's 9 with Werner and Giroud. I don't know in terms of the league.
Okay, I think Tammy is 6 in the league.
I wouldn't be surprised if Tammy has more in the league, but I would also
know that
at the start. But same way, Olivier Giroud. Yeah, you have a check, but same way for the game time that he's had, I think Olivier Giroud's had a really good season, especially with his age as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Alex, what are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I mean, when you consider at the back end of last season, especially after like the Project Restart, that he was actually one of our talisman players.
Is he joint or is he
Tammy, Zuma, and then Werner?
Yeah, Werner and Zuma are joint on 4, and then Oli has 3. It doesn't really focus, I'm sorry. But yeah, Tammy 6, Zuma and Werner 4, Giroud 3, Jorginho 3, all of them penalties though. Chile 2, Callum 2, Mason 2, Thiago Silva 2. Did he score 2? Pulisic 1, Ziyech 1, Havertz 1.
Headers, I think.
Yeah, West Ham and Sheffield United for Thiago Silva.
True, yeah, it's true.
Right, so for Olivier Giroud, what rating are we looking for, guys?
Probably a 7, just because I think I agree with Lawrence. Like when he's come in, most of the time he's looked okay, but then there's been the odd occasion where, like you said, the Tottenham game, he just didn't play well. There's a couple of other times the Fulham game he didn't play particularly well, but then it was never going to work with how we were playing. Yeah, I think he's been well for when he's come in, but he just hasn't played enough.
All right, cool. So all agreed on a 7 for Olivier Giroud.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. We'll go on to the next player now. Who should we go for? We'll go for Jorginho. Alex, chat to me about Jorginho's season so far.
You know what? Compared to the first half of this season, he's taken a bit of a backward step, to be honest with you. I don't really think he's an ideal player to have in this squad, to be honest, but especially playing as that lone DM role. But, we're like, obviously a lot of the time we want the likes of Gilmour to play over him. And it's not that I think he's a bad player. I think in another team under another manager, he could be a lot more useful than he is to us. But I don't know. I haven't been that impressed, but equally it's like against Fulham, for instance, I wasn't really expecting anything better because we already know his limitations as a footballer. He hasn't got any pace. Yeah, he's got a good pass on him, but yeah, in terms of the athleticism in our midfield, the amount of times we've been run through this season, just someone like him's not really the answer, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't lie. It has been a bit of a downgrade for Jorginho this season. I'm not really sure what it is. I will give him the credit that the first few games this season, he was possibly one of our most consistent players on the pitch. But I think it's been maybe since the Crystal Palace game, I'm thinking, where his form has just taken a bit of a dip for me. I think the more we persisted with the 4-2-3-1 formation, the worse he was looking, in my opinion, because him and Kante weren't working out. The Jorginho and Kovacic pivot was basically dying right in front of our very eyes. And it's also stuff that he used to be really good at that I'm seeing him regress at. Like his standing tackles are getting worse as the games are going by. He's keeping his head down a lot more. Usually when he gets the ball, the first thing, he already knows his options before he receives the ball. And I'm not seeing that from him anymore. And I'm seeing a lot of runs getting ignored too. So as a season, I can only see it going down. I mean, Lawrence, what are your thoughts?
It's weird because at the very start of the season he played, then once we switched to the 3, he didn't really play because Kante had that DM role set and Jorginho only played in the Champions League. He played every Champions League game. We won 4 of those, didn't lose one. So if you look at just that itself, can't have been that awful because, a part of a team that doesn't lose a game. And yeah, we didn't have the toughest group in the world, but hey, we've certainly had easier groups in the past and didn't do as well as we did this season. But I do agree that recently he has struggled a lot. Is that to do with the rest of the team? Probably so, but he certainly could do better. Like the last few times he has started, I was usually like, I would like to see a bit more from him. But like Alex said, a lot of us probably would prefer Billy Gilmour for the time being, or at the moment at least. But of course, at the start of the season, we didn't have that option because Billy was still injured. So if you're going to push me for a rating, I'd probably go for like 4, 4.5, 5, something like that.
I'd lean more to a 4, to be honest. What about you guys, Alex? No, we've already said your thoughts. So have you not said it yet?
No, I didn't say a rating. I'll probably, I don't know. I'll probably push a 5, but yeah, I wouldn't like be completely against a 4, 4.5.
All right, cool. Scott, you as well? 4, or do you feel any different?
I'd say 4 just because I'm kind of going off what he was like last season. Like you look at last season and it was a totally different player than we saw under Sarri, and it was weird because you thought that he'd only really be able to play, like he'd be worse because Sarri was kind of the guy that knew how to play it with him. But he looked so much better last season. You come into this season and it's just gone completely the other way, like a few other players we'll get onto. But yeah, it's just weird. It's gone back to the worst bits about him. Like he's still got good plays in him, and he can still pick a pass from time to time. But we're seeing a lot more of the mistakes, the lack of defensive awareness and stuff like that.
All right, cool. So all in agreement on a 4 for Jorginho. We'll go on to the next player now. Oh, let me just get rid of Jorginho's overlay. Cool. Scott, this one will be for you, and we'll go with Azpilicueta. Now, as a number 2 option, I don't think he's been too bad this season. I think he's definitely slowed down in recent games. The Fulham game, he didn't look that great, and he was getting bullied by Foden against Manchester City. But other than that, for someone who's definitely gone down in the pecking order, not even due to his own detriments, but due to how good Reece James has been this season, I don't think it's been overall a terrible season for him, to be honest. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I think the problem with Aspi is we're seeing things that we've already known. Like he gets beaten a lot in terms of players getting behind it, but that's because he hasn't got that pace in him. But we've known that for a few years, and it's just most of what we're seeing is just what we were seeing under Sarri, and it's kind of but it's stuff we knew about with as I said, the lack of pace, just a bit rash at times and stuff like that. But don't think it's been awful. I was thinking about something about Aspi, and I think I might be crazy. Call me crazy if I am. Just want to get your guys in the comments opinion. Do you think he'd work at CDM?
CDM?
Yeah.
See, I
don't think so, but fair.
Because the reason I was going back to that is you go back under Conte, and I understand it was a bit more of a defensive system, so it might have been a bit better, but he was, I think statistically, definitely the best one-on-one defender in the league. I think maybe in the top 5 leagues of Europe. I could be wrong with that. Certainly in the league. But yeah, and I was just thinking that as long as you don't ask him to get too far forwards, it might work. But I was just gauging. It's a little bit mental, but I thought I'd see what the.
I can definitely see what you're saying, and the defensive side of things would probably definitely work. But I just think he's not safe enough on the ball to keep it under pressure, and on the wide areas, at times you can just punt it out, you can punt it long. That's because you can only really be pressured from one side because you've got the touchline next to you. So I think that will be his issue, and obviously sometimes passing just in general. But it definitely has advantages. It's definitely faster than Jorginho is, but yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I never really have him down as a dribbler. I could see where you are in terms of his defensive ability and in terms of his crossing ability as well, because we know his connection with Morata back in the 17-18 position. It was from a very similar position, AB from a DM role. So I kind of understand it, but same way in terms of him getting the ball and like beating two players and going forward, I don't really see that in his game. Like, even when we play him on the right hand side, it's more he gets in those positions because there's space in behind left for him to be in those positions. So I'm not too sure about him as a lone DM. But back to the main question though, what are your ratings for him?
Probably a 5, maybe push it to a 6, just because I think like we haven't seen him that much apart from when Reece has been injured. Like, yeah. And he's not done too much wrong, but not done too much good either. It's kind of just been a bit average.
I'd go rather for a 5 because he's not because he does so badly, but I think why I'd give it a 5 is because of how different it is compared to Reece James. When Reece James isn't like he's actually fit, because as like it was against Leicester or Arsenal, they might as well play. Leicester or Arsenal, they might as well play Aspie because Reece like that is pointless. But that's because he tries to push up the pitch, but then he doesn't quite have the crossing ability. He doesn't quite have the legs. And then the higher he pushes, because we play so much, with the fullbacks, he struggles so much to get back again in time. And then I can't remember what game it was. Was it maybe Villa, City, whichever one it was? When he played right back, I think it might have been City. When he basically played like a right centre back of a midfield 3, he didn't go out wide enough. Sterling ran absolute rings around him. He didn't get forward. He didn't push wide. Like the right-hand side was so open consistently. And I know I'm picking on one game here, but I think he got scared of himself of being like overrun all the time and beaten all the time. And I think that's why he stays so central. And, if he starts doubting his own abilities, that's when I think we start to struggle. He certainly had good games, don't get me wrong at all. But I don't know. Personally, I think a 6 is a bit too harsh, considering we gave too much if we gave Mendy and Giroud a 7.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'd say a 5. Yeah, slap bang in the middle. I don't think he's been great, but I don't think he's been too bad. And obviously, he's a different player to Reece James, like Lauren said, with his pace along the flank.
One's an attacking fullback and one's a defensive fullback.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and that's been half the reason why he's been struggling in some games this season as well, which is why we've given him the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, a 5 for Azpilicueta works. That's calm. We'll go on to the next player. Alex, I'll leave this one for you, and we'll go for Antonio Rudiger. Yeah, let's go for Rudiger. I think, bar the Leicester City game, like we can all sit and be reactionary and say he's poor based off that. But off the game time that he's had this season, I don't think he's been all that bad, to be honest. I think we've been using him very sparingly, more in the Champions League games and the cup matches. But for the most part, he's produced solid performances in nearly all of them. The only one that didn't look completely up to par was the Leicester City match. But other than that, he has gone down in the pecking order, but his performances have looked more consistent as a result.
Yeah, I mean, you think even last month and at the start of the season, he was rumored to be leaving, whether that be on the loan or permanently. But yeah, like you said, he's gone down in the pecking order. But when he's come in recently, I mean, yeah, he was poor the other night. You could argue he's at fault for the second goal, but yeah, against Fulham, when I didn't think we were the greatest, he looked comfortable with Thiago at the back. And, he divides a lot of opinion between Chelsea fans. But at the end of the day, if he's one of our backup centre halves, I'm not that worried, to be honest with you. Like, I don't think he's been great, but in the time he's been given, I'll say he's been all right. So I don't quite want to give him a 6, but I'll probably say a 5, to be honest.
Yeah, I think
it's a. Sorry, go on.
No, go on. I was just agreeing. Go for it.
I think it's a tough one to judge him because he's played what? He played 3 or 4 Prem games, and then he played a cup game or 2.
A couple of cup games, most of the Champions League group stage matches, except like the first 2. But he didn't play the first 2, but he's played Rennes away, Krasnodar away, Sevilla away. He's played Krasnodar at home in the Champions League as well.
Because I was even thinking, like, can we even give him a rating? Because has he played enough for that? But no, you make a fair point.
Games.
It's
he's had a decent amount that we can give him a decent rating.
You're right. It's a weird one because we always sit here thinking, wouldn't Tomori be better? Of course, Tomori is about to go out to AC Milan on loan. Rudiger has his positives, but the thing is, I feel like the more he would play, the worse he would be because, I don't know, he always seems when he doesn't play for a while and then he comes in, he does all right. He feels like, okay, I need to play well so I can get my spot back. And then once he has his spot back, he makes mistakes again, like the Leicester game. I feel like that's just what happens with Rudiger every time.
But that's why I think he's just a perfect squad player. I wouldn't want him to start regularly. I don't know why Lampard wants him to start over Kurt Zouma, really. I think his position right now is perfect.
Just that he probably himself disagrees.
Yeah, but like that's just player motivations. He's obviously going to want more for himself. But same way, nah. Know your OG, and we'll leave it at that. So, what, we're going to go for a 5 for Antonio Rudiger then?
Yeah,
4.5. Yeah, I'll agree with the 5.
Yeah, just because of that, like how little game time he's got, and he's done okay.
All right, cool. So that's the wrong one. That's a 5 for Antonio Rudiger. We're going to move on to our next player, and we're going to go for Mateo Kovacic. Right. I didn't get that one up to frame. Bit annoying, but we move. Lawrence, I'll go to you for this one. Now, Mateo Kovacic, he didn't really get a lot of game time until about the November period, I think, around the time we're facing Leeds and Sheffield United. And it was 2 very promising performances there. But he's another one of the players whose form has just fallen off a cliff since Christmas, and we haven't seen the same player since.
I have a few controversial opinions on Mateo Kovacic because I like him as a footballer. We all know he's an incredible footballer. I first of all disagreed with him getting Player of the Year last season. I didn't agree with this personally. He didn't play enough until restart, to be it, and after restart he wasn't that good. He just had 5 games before restart before the Premier League stopped where he was really good, and I feel like that's why people gave it to him. Hey, you know, people have different opinions. That's fair enough. And this season, my issue with Kovacic, he's really good on the ball. He's probably our most press-resistant player that we have. But he never does anything. Like, he doesn't assist. He doesn't score. He carries the ball fair enough. He carries it like 25 to 30 yards. But then he passes backwards anyway. Like, there's this picture going around today on Twitter against Leicester. He was in a midfield position. I don't know exactly how far from goal, but maybe like 30 yards. He had 5 Chelsea players in front of him, and he decides to turn around and pass it back to Reece James. And that's the personification of Mateo Kovacic recently, because he's incredibly good at football, but I think he's one of the biggest examples of not using your talent as well as you could. And that's really frustrating. And, you know, people say, but he's been so good in that. Yeah, but if he was that good, would we have really got him from Real Madrid? Personally, I don't think so. Because they would have never let him go.
It depends, because I think they do have a tendency to let go players that are good quality. It might not be like top quality Real Madrid level, but they're still good. Like, you look at Erdegaard's rumored to be leaving because he's not getting played enough. Like, he's decent. Even like, I know it's an Arsenal player. Even Ceballos has got good qualities about him. He's a decent player. It's just he wasn't at Real Madrid level.
I mean, no one's saying Kovacic is awful. I'm just saying he's not as good as he could be.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Kyle, what about you? What are your thoughts for Kovacic this season?
Oof. You know, he's my favorite Chelsea player, so I have to be a bit like objective. You know me. I think this season he was underwhelming. I think he is one of a few players that this season, honestly, even I, as his biggest fan, can't really give him much credit. I mean, I take into consideration the fact that he rarely played. Lampard not giving him confidence doesn't help, but he doesn't help himself when he does start. So at the same time, I don't know. I think it's both him and Lampard not showing him confidence, because I just feel like there is something there that could be very useful if we use the positives rather than the negatives with Kovacic. But at the same time, he just doesn't look like himself this season as well.
Yeah, I would say that to an extent, but I also think that this guy does get very frustrating, especially when it comes to his final ball. No one here is saying anything about his quality. We know exactly the player that he's capable of being, but half the time it's what makes it so angry. It's a bit like Willian, but obviously a much higher quality player than Willian is. But it's like, you know exactly what type of player you could see out of him, but you see it like once every 8 games, and it's like, bro, we just need to see this a bit more, and we could generally back you as being as one of the best centre midfielders in the league because you have the quality to be there, but you need the consistency of it to match. So, a final rating. Who are we going for, guys?
I'd say a 4, like Jorginho. I think they've been kind of similar in terms of they've regressed quite a bit. They haven't been as good as last season. And yeah, we're just seeing a lot less of them.
Do we do half points or just full ones?
We can go for half points. I'm fully flexible here. I can't be asked, so I don't mind.
Then I go 4.5, just because I think he's maybe been a tiny bit better than Jorginho. Even though, hey, I'm probably out of all of us the biggest Jorginho fan here, but yeah, like I feel a little bit better just because he has had some good games, but especially the Fulham game that riled me up so much. Better second half, fair enough. I will say that once he wasn't once it was a midfield 2 with him and Mount, but before that, he frustrated me so much.
I would give him 5.5. 5.5. I wouldn't give him. I think he's been better than Jorginho. He also played less games than Jorginho as well, so I'm trying to be fair. So 5.5.
Has he?
Yeah. He has played a lot less.
I'll go in the middle. I think a 5's a fair rating.
Yeah, I'd push for a 5 because you think he hasn't really been given a consistent run of games either. Like we were saying the other week about, you know, how Mount, who we'll get onto soon, has.
I think a lot of our players are just lacking confidence. A lot of them just lack a lot of confidence. Like if you see them on the ball, they hesitate every time they execute a move. I think a lot of them just missing a lot of confidence.
I mean, that is a whole debate in itself, really, isn't it? But it's so weird that started in the first place. Like, we beat Leeds 3-1, played really well. Okay, yeah, we conceded a stupid early goal. Well, then we score 3 goals. Should probably score a 4th, a 5th, a 6th in the last few minutes. Should absolutely batter them. Should have a brilliant win. And from one day to another, confidence just drops. And obviously, when a bad run starts, you know, it gets worse and worse and worse. We know that. But it's just weird. Why it even started in the first place. You know, bad form is one thing. But no player having confidence. Like the Leicester game was the best example for it. Reece James, Kai Havertz, Kovacic, none of these players there to play any ball that required any sort of balls. Pun not intended. But just sideways passes in nothing. No one dared to do anything, and it's so frustrating.
All right, so what? Final rating 5 then, guys.
5, I think we said.
Yeah. All right, cool. We'll go for a 5 as a final rating for Mateo Kovacic. Who are we gonna go to next? Since you only just joined, we'll give this one to you, Kaio. Tammy Abraham. What's your thoughts on Tammy Abraham this season?
I would give him. I've never thought Tammy could be Chelsea quality starter striker. He has moments where I just see him tripping on the ball. It's like, you know, those like little elephants in the circus, man. That's what Abraham to me is on the ball, man. He just falls down every time he gets the ball. His ball control isn't good enough. His hold up for a guy of his size is just pathetic. But I think he could be a good rotation player for Chelsea. I'd give him a 6. I don't think I could give him anything more.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely hasn't been a terrible season for him. If anything, I think first half of the season, he was looking better than he did first half of last season. Obviously, like the goal numbers won't show it, but I think as a player, he definitely has improved from when he originally joined us. Second half of the season, though, second half of the first half of the season, if we're going to be specific, yeah, he definitely has fallen off a cliff. I think when Tammy Abraham looks bad, he looks absolutely dreadful as a player. But when he's good, he looks great. He's one of those ones where it's just like because of his frame and the way that he moves, where if he looks terrible, the ball just absolutely bounces off him. He just looks like an absolute donkey. And he's had his bad games, like the disaster class against Krasnodar at home. Like that was a really awful game for him. Game against Arsenal as well, where he just struggled to have any impact. And the Tottenham game as well, where he missed about 3 aerial battles that could have won us the game. He's had bad performances in him, but he's also had good performances in him as well. So I think it's another one that will be around the 5 or 6. It all depends on your favoritism around the time. But Lawrence, what about you? What are your thoughts?
I mean, you said that it might depend on your favoritism. It's true, because he's the highest goal scorer in the Premier League. Like, imagine we don't have those 6 goals. Like, what you are saying? And people in the chat saying 3 and shit. Oh,
it's definitely not a 3. It's definitely
not 3 goals in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean?
But like, do you see him ever leading the line for Chelsea, though?
No.
Like, not necessarily, but at this moment, I don't see it for Werner either. And Giroud is 34. So, you know, that's not Tammy's fault, that. And, like, I don't know. I think I agree. He does fall over sometimes a little bit too much. But I just think at least when he plays up top, I feel like he's bloody trying. He's running his socks off. Actually, we can't press as a team, which is my big criticism of when Giroud plays, because it's impossible to press. I mean, the guy takes about an hour to get to the guy. And that is a big positive. I think his runs are extremely ignored by all of his teammates. I think he would have about 12 goals if players just played over the top of the ball.
We've said that about so many players as well.
I think all of our players, we don't use the space. All we use is crosses. That's one of the biggest issues at Chelsea at the moment.
Yeah.
But
that would help so many different players.
Yep. Because we have very pacey players, but we seem to love the way that crosses look for some reason. But it is what it is, you know.
I mean, you saw it at times against Leicester. So I was going to say, you saw it at times during Leicester, as poor as we were. There was the odd occasion where we were making runs, good bit of play, and it was coming off.
The amount of space they were giving us as well. I was, oh my God, how are we not like? How did Lampard not change the play style in the halftime? Because they had so much space behind their centre backs.
I assume he tried because otherwise the runs wouldn't have been made. But I think the passes just didn't come. I think the players in midfield just just weren't confident enough to try, because if it's not the plan to use that space, I don't think all of them would constantly make their runs. I don't.
Do you think it's not instructions? Because like a lot of the times when we do have space to go like to use the midfield, we just go to the fullbacks, and from the fullbacks we try to go to the wingers.
I agree.
Like instruction.
I agree for the most part, just against Leicester, because we usually don't have as many runs from the forward as we did against Leicester. So that's why I thought the instruction probably was run, try to find them because we have space. But that didn't happen. But that's what you get when you don't use that enough. Players aren't used to playing like that. So, it comes in roundabouts. But I think for just this scenario, maybe Lampard isn't to blame. But hey, like I said, I like Tammy. I've defended Tammy a lot. So, I would personally give him a 7. But, fair enough if people think different.
I can't lie. I feel like a 7 is a bit too much for me. I'd be up for a 6, a 5. Like, if you're going to be, I wouldn't say a 4, but I think a 5 or a 6 is fair for him this season. I think he's getting a lot of undeserved criticism based off the last few games. But if we look in throughout the season, I think there's definitely been improvement in this guy. Like last season, his hold-up play wasn't as good as it was now. His runs off the ball weren't as good as it is now. Like, he's improving. He's learning a lot from Olivier Giroud at the very least.
Yeah, but how is Giroud getting a 7 if we have statistically get more points when Tammy plays up front?
I think it's just like overall.
That's a very damning point, to be honest. Yeah, I think maybe you have to lower down Olivier Giroud then as a result.
I mean, I think it's just what we're seeing like on the pitch. Sorry to interrupt, Carl. I just think it's like Tammy's. For me, like especially in the league, Tammy's had more games and has had more opportunity to do stuff, and has had therefore, I think, like as an overall, as an average, Tammy's had, for me, pretty much as many good performances as bad. Where Giroud has had with having less appearances, as having slightly more better performances than bad, but just because he hasn't had less games.
I think for Giroud it is because of lack of game time. Like the games that he has played, he has looked a lot better as a result, which means we're going to look at him in a greater light as well. But granted as well, if we're going to say because he's had more goals, we do have to take into account with Olivier Giroud, he got 4 of them in the same game. So that's also going to have to come into account as well. What are we going to do for Tammy then? Because are we going to have to lower down Olivier Giroud's rating as well?
I think they have been equally as good, personally.
How much did you give Giroud?
7.
Giroud's got 7.
7. Okay, that's generous for me. But
we can do both for 6.5.
You give them both a 6. I can give both a 6.
It could go 6.5 for both.
6.5 for both. I don't really mind, to be honest, but you do raise a good point that one can't really give up right now. Okay, so we're going to go 6.5 for the pair with Giroud. Give me a sec. Cool. And save. Cool. So that's sorted. We'll go straight into the next player then. Now we sorted out Tammy Abraham. Now Giroud's redone as well. Christian Pulisic. Right, we'll go to Christian Pulisic. Alex, this one will be for you. Definitely been struggling since coming back from injury, and for the most part hasn't looked the same player. It's been frustrating, but I don't think he's been more poor. I think it's just more his route back from injury, where it's just taken a lot longer than we're expecting it to. Plus, I think he's been rushed back a little bit too much. He's having way too much game time. I think that he really needs right now at this point. If anything, we're risking him too much.
Agreed.
Yeah, maybe. I was expecting to see a lot more of him. I mean, we know what he could do running at players and stuff. It's been a couple of games this season where he's just been anonymous and just looks a shadow of the player he was last season, especially towards the back end of the season, with him being one of the main reasons as to why we actually got top 4. And you know, I don't know, man. I don't really think he's been at the races this season. But then, like you said, it could be due to him being rushed back from injury. Yeah, that's all I really have to say on him, to be honest.
Yeah, there's not really been a lot to go off with Christian Pulisic other than maybe the last run of games. But the last run of games, I also think if we're going to judge him off that, then it doesn't look like a good season for him overall. It is definitely more outside circumstances, though. Like I've been saying for the past few weeks, why do we keep playing this guy so much like he doesn't have a consistent record of muscle injuries and it's the Christmas period? And I think we're lucky that he hasn't already gone off with another injury. And to be honest, for Frank Lampard's sake, we're glad he should be lucky as well, because if Pulisic has come off with another muscle injury against Leicester or something like that, the blame would be firmly on him. We will be saying, why haven't you been playing Callum Hudson-Odoi more?
Yep. I mean, what people need to consider, he was out for basically 5 months. You know, obviously he came back for a few games, but only started one and came on from the bench in 2 games. And then obviously he was meant to start his second game after coming back and got injured in the warm-up against Burnley. So let's ignore that one start. He was out for 5 months, from August until early December. From 5, it doesn't just happen from one day to another to be brilliant. And that the period that he has played now was when the whole team was awful. So I think any player will struggle to like really shine. And I think there's been a lot of games where he looked like one of the best ones, but there was no end product. And that makes sense after 5 months out. But I will say against Fulham and against Leicester, he wasn't great. I personally say 6, but I can understand if people would say 5. But I just think you can't put him as low as Rudiger or Jorginho, as Rudiger and Kovacic personally. I think he needs to be one above.
It's a sticky one because I get with outside circumstances, but we have to be unbiased and use this from a performance point of view. And from a performance point of view, it's not been at the same level as last season. It's been at a worse point, and to be honest, I think a 5 is a fair rating for him. To be honest, I can't really give him a 6, to be honest, and say he's been near enough at the same level as a Giroud or a Tammy Abraham, because there just hasn't been the influence.
Yeah, I'd agree with a 5, and you know, sometimes when the whole team's not playing well, you want that sort of one talisman player to come out and, you know, give that bit of magic. Like at times he was doing last season, actually. Like, you know, remember the game after lockdown when we lost, what was it, 5-3 to Liverpool, came on as a sub.
Bro, Arnold looked stupid in that game.
Exactly. And you know what really sad? He's such a talented player, and the injuries just... And people forget he's like 21, 22, something ridiculous. And he's really so talented, but those injuries, they scare me massively. Like, you can't really depend on him, you know? And when is it going to be the time where we're going to look at him and be like, okay, his role in the team has to be a little bit less of a role, and we need to go to get that, you know, like, number one winger that we can rely on, you know? Because it's scary how little of amount of games that he plays, and every season it gets worse and worse. So, you know, it's something that the club has to take into consideration. I would still push
the 5.5 because against Arsenal and stuff, he was still our best player until Hudson-Odoi came on.
It wasn't hard though.
That is true. But I mean, a lot of the players that we are judging here were a lot worse, and we gave them similar rating.
I think as well, you can see there's a couple times. So you look at a Wolves game, you've got one of the fastest fullbacks in the league, and Pulisic had him on toast every single time he got the ball. And it's you can see that quality he's got, and his best attributes taking players on. It's just like players are either like, you look at that Fulham game, they stuck 2 players on him and he couldn't do anything. So like, there are times when he needs to do more, but there's also times where he's just getting completely taken out of the game, and we have no other real outlet.
All right, so we're gonna go for a 5. Then we're gonna go for a 5.5.
I'd say 5.5.
Yeah, 5.5. Because he is trying. It's just not going his way, you know.
All right, cool. So that'll be a 5.5 for Christian Pulisic. Go on to our next player. Scott, this one will be for you, and we will go for Reece James. We'll go for Reece James, and this one will be one of the more positive ones. Didn't have a good game against Leicester City, but again, looked like one of those games where he just brought him back too early from injury. Same as the Arsenal match. Go on.
every poor game he's had has been since he's come back from injury, and like we've got no idea if that's just down to him being rushed back or whatever. Like especially the Arsenal game, it looked like he wasn't at it, but he'd just come back from an injury, and we've no idea if he was fully fit. Like,
but other than that, I think I've said he's the best right back in the league this season. I've said that for a reason. Other than James Justin, of course, like I haven't been giving him too much credit either. But James Justin's had an amazing season as well. If I've been saying that for a reason because he's been consistently amazing. Yeah. For a long
if you take away his form since December, but then again, that's when we died a little bit, as a club. But before that, he was brilliant. And then he got the injury, and against Arsenal, he was. You could tell that he was rushed back, and he was horrible. And ever since, he was going down. Ever since, but I'm not gonna take away his brilliance as for the last 2 seasons over 2 months where the whole team was crap. So I'm gonna give him a 7, easily 7.
I was gonna say 7.5, just because I think as I said, like he's still got those he still has a few defensive frailties at times, like just losing concentration. But that comes he's like what 20. That comes everyone rates Trent Alexander-Arnold, and he's shocking defensively. So it's I just think, I think he's had a very good season. And the bits he hasn't, as I said, is just because, for all we know, he's not fit.
I'd go 7.5. I'd go for 8. I think he's been one of our players.
Yeah, 7.5 is all right. Yeah.
You're gonna go 7.5 for Reece James? Okay, cool.
I would even push an 8, like the chat personally, but because I think he has been.
I'd go for an 8
had 2 bad games.
I think he definitely
fit for them.
For me, he's the best thing out of the Lampard tenure. He's not getting top 4. It's just the fact that he is ours for the next God knows how many years, and he's brilliant, and he's just gonna get better. So, for me, he's something that I would look upon, like one of a few things of the Lampard tenure that I'll forever be grateful for.
Yeah, and you can consider how many crosses he's put in that have actually been missed. That's down to us not playing
over 2020. Tammy Abraham could have had 20 goals just based off his crosses alone.
Well, exactly, especially when he puts the ball in the air. That's food and drink to someone like Giroud. That's what he builds his game off.
Yeah, no word of a lie. You look at fullbacks, he might be the second best deliverer of a ball in the league.
Yeah, definitely second. I can give Trent over that one.
Yeah,
because Trent's
his delivery of a football is mad.
Right, so what are we going for? We're going for a 7, 7.5. We're going for
at least 7.5. It's
7.5.
7.5. Okay, cool. Let me change that because I was about to go biased and just drop an 8 on him anyway. Cool. 7.5 for Reece James. Next player. Well, we haven't done him yet. We'll go for Thiago Silva.
Best signing of the season.
One of the best free signings of the Premier League history, in my opinion. Obviously, we'll have to wait towards the end, but right now, what a brilliant player! Again, didn't have the best of games against Leicester City. Everyone didn't have a good game against Leicester, but I still thought it was one of our more positive games. But half of the reason why he's been so good defensively, why he's been so good at set pieces, and why players like Rudiger and Kurt Zouma have looked so calm for periods of the season is because they've had this guy next to him. He's been so good for us.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. And you look at
I'd say 7.5 because, like I said, I think Reece James has been our best player, so I can't give anyone more now.
Yeah, 7.5 is fair because he has been brilliant, but we cannot just forgive the last 2 months like they didn't happen.
Because he had the West Brom shocker. He didn't look good against City. He looked the worst out of him and Zouma against City, in my opinion.
Really?
And I thought
Zouma was getting done, to be honest. I couldn't really directly blame Thiago Silva for any of the 3 goals.
I thought I could, but hey, you may be wrong.
I agree with you, Lawrence. He was kind of rushing towards tackle. Sometimes he would have tried to get the ball before he should have, and
maybe trying to make up for Zouma. I will admit that, but still thought
I do think he had a lot of work to do around the others. Like the second goal, for an example, I didn't really think was his fault. He had to go down for the challenge. By the time he's got up, no one else has marked Phil Foden, and it's like he's doing too much for himself. First goal as well, he got done by Gundogan, but it was a good move from Gundogan. I can't really take too much away from him on that. It was a really nice turn. And Thiago Silva's deficiencies at 36 years of age, he ain't going to be able to deal with that one-on-one. So I can't really outright blame him too much for it. Even though West Brom say slip, other than that, had a good performance, but slip.
Yeah, like as well. The thing for me is like not just the defensive thing. You look at how accomplished you mentioned it. Look at Zuma, how much he's improved. So much of that comes from Thiago Silva's experience in like coaching him in the best way, like teaching him where to position himself, and he's done so much for that back line. I'd agree with Jordan. For me, he's an 8. Like I know what we said about Reece James, but he's done so much for that back line.
We can change our opinions, by the way. You don't have to stick to a certain thing.
Yeah.
Like even if they catch us out for it, you're allowed to change your opinions. Don't feel like you can't. So, what are we going to go for Thiago Silva, guys?
For me personally, it's an 8, but I'm willing to see what you guys say.
I'd go 7.5 or 8.
Yeah, I'd say 7.5. I mean, you've
7.5,
seen the experience.
yeah.
You've seen the experience he's brought as well. Like he made that. He saved us the game against United away with just just that one tackle.
It's
Sorry,
not
man.
even
both deserve an 8, personally.
Yeah, it's not even the experience. He just makes he makes even Rudiger look like a semi-good defender, you know, which for me alone need credit, you know. You can give him credit just for that.
Right.
Like I said, I think both deserve an 8, but like let's be fair, innit?
I mean, I would have given them both an 8. Both a 7.5 is a cool enough compromise to me, but we've gone for a 7.5 for Thiago Silva. We'll move on to our next player. Oh, we've already said Jorginho. Let me get rid of him. Next player. Christian. We'll get to Danish Maldini very soon.
Ooh, okay.
With Ben Chilwell for
Danish
now.
Maldini, oof.
You're not
man.
on to it. You don't see what pops off at 3 a.m. every night. But yeah, Ben Chilwell. Ben Chilwell. Very good starts this season.
Yeah.
Probably one of our highest performing players. Another one that's fallen off around the December period, and some of the stuff off the pitch is genuinely pissing me off. But as a player, like I don't think he's one. Actually, no. In the last few games, he has massively.
Wait, what's he done off the
It's a
pitch?
game of 2 parts of the
Was it
season.
the Leicester stuff you're on or the off the pitch stuff?
What
Let's
did he do?
say the Arsenal stuff. You know, like when we're getting packed and he's just fucking chatting with them after the game.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
a
I
little
was going to
thing. Like,
mention that. I was
but
gonna
that's
mention that.
that's just.
yeah, I'm not going to hold it completely against it.
Yeah, do you
but
want
it's
to be
also-
miserable? You know, you want them to be like ignoring them. It's still their job, you know. So
No,
man.
I get it. It's a bit of both. That's why I don't want to
Yeah.
go too much into it. But it is a game of 2 halves of the season for him. It's the
Yeah.
same as most of the others. But Scott, what are your thoughts?
I think he's basically been the same as Reece James. The only difference is he doesn't have he doesn't have an injury to kind of fall back on as to why he's been poor. For me personally, like he had an injury, didn't he? Or he had a bit of a niggle, but I don't think it was as bad as Reece James is. For me, the only problem at the minute that we're seeing is like Lee Chappie mentioned this on he retweeted one of Ian's tweets. I saw that we're starting to see a bit more of what Leicester saw, where we're noticing the mistakes a little bit more. But I think overall the season, he's had a good season overall, and I think, yeah, as long as he can like shake off what's going on at the minute, I think he's been good for me. For me, he's been a 7. Like he's been basically, as I said, basically about the same as Reece James, just a bit worse and doesn't have like the injury excuse.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has two flaws that kind of he struggles with a little bit.
Yep.
Well, other than confidence, like everyone does right now. But first of all, he's not quite pressure resistant enough, in my opinion. Whenever he's pressured, he struggles to find a teammate with a pass, and his deliveries are very on and off. Like sometimes they're great, but sometimes they also feel like a William corner, and he can't beat the first man. And
Did you see that? Did you see that one cross? I think it was against who was it against? It was against City, where literally Werner was two centimeters away from him, and he just crossed it all the way to the flag. I'm like, this guy is just. I can't say he's as good as Reece James this season. I just can't. I'm sorry. He was good the first 10, 15 games. After that, we basically so far we've been getting the Leicester's Chilwell. You know.
To be honest,
I don't know. For me, I wouldn't. I think 7.5 is quite a lot, man.
Oh no,
I
I
think
think
six.
it's 7.
Yeah, I think it's a 7 as well. Just mainly
I would have
because
put 6.5.
6.5.
Mainly
Yeah,
because it's Reece
it's
on
not a
form,
bad
but-
thing to say. Like Reece James is a bit better. I think that's more fact, to be honest. Like we know Reece James has been the better one out of the 2.
Yep.
But same way, that's not to take anything away from Ben Chilwell. Started off very well, but has definitely cooled off throughout the December period. But a big factor of that will be as well. The guy plays so many games. He's another one that we just don't rotate enough.
I can understand why though. To be fair, like
No, I mean Emerson, like I get as the other option, but same way we could just play Aspilicueta on the left. Yeah, we ain't gonna have the same sort of attacking intensity on the left-hand side. We play most of our play off the right-hand side anyway, so would it make too much of a difference? I don't really think so.
that's a fair point.
All right, final rating, guys. What are your thoughts?
I'd say a 7.
6.5 for me.
6.5. Right, we went majority 6.5. So Chilwell 6.5, and we're good. Nice. Next player we're gonna go to. This one will be an easy one because he had literally just played 3 games and he's
0.
absolutely stunk
but
out
that 2 for that West Brom
all
thing.
3 of them.
0.
Now, we gotta go season game by game at the very least because there isn't a lot to talk about.
What
First
games
game
have you
against
played?
Brighton got put in a spliff by Tariq Lamptey. Liverpool
0.
game
Yeah.
struggled against Mo Salah, but I think it was probably his best game out of the 3, which is really the best out of a bad punch.
0.
And then that West Brom game where, yeesh, that disaster class. And all the stuff with Lampard that happened since after he went on to the team coach at half time, getting pissed off, being subbed off. We ain't seen him play a minute since. But go on, Kyle. What's your thoughts?
I have a theory, man. If you need motivation every morning when you wake up, look at the picture of Alonso in a Chelsea shirt. If that guy can make it, so can you, man. That's all I'm going to say. I have never seen a fullback so bad in my life, man. I was when we signed him, I was like, we wanted Sandro and we got this guy, and he was good because of Conte's coaching. But after he left, Jesus Christ, we got the Bolton one, and he was just horrible. I don't know how he lasted that long, man.
To be fair, you talk about left backs and you talk about the motivation thing. After finding out Aberrahman is on nearly 100k a week, I feel quite confident that I can do something with my life, seeing that he's
Bro, you've seen Bakayoko and Zappacosta play week in and week out for us. The whole 17-18 season is a motivation sesh, if we're talking
And
about
people are asking me why I don't like Conte.
I think, that's the whole discussion.
Right, this one is the easiest one of the lot, but rating for Marcus Alonso. What's everybody saying?
No,
2.
I think serious with 0.
2.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's just 2 worse than Jorginho, who's played all 6 Champions League games when we didn't lose a game.
yeah, I mean, I can't lie. I was
Maybe a
happy
1.
to give him a 1.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
that's
1. I'll get 1. Sorry.
At the very least, he put his shirt on the right way round, so fair play.
Yeah.
to him.
It's
Yeah,
like
he
what
was
you do.
really top.
You could give him a rating of 1, just like you do in the first grade when you write your name on the paper and you get a grade for it. Same thing with
You
Alonso.
get a point there, yeah.
Just the fact you wear the Chelsea shirt, you just get a default 1, you know.
Hey, I wouldn't be surprised if he misspelled his own name. I won't lie.
He's getting
Right,
a 2 from me,
let's
Lewis.
move
Mate.
on.
He's definitely getting a 2. He's like a less shit Del Horno. Well, actually, no, he's more shit.
I was going to say, are you sure?
Yeah, at least Alonso left with a league title and playing most of the games, and we just left at that. Alonso, he's just lost his legacy ever since then.
It's a massive tangent. Have you guys seen the interview that I think Joe Cole and Carlton Cole did on Del Horno?
Nah, what they say?
Go and find it. It's a bit long to talk about it, but they just talk about going like a night out with him, and he sounds like such a laugh.
Who, Del Horno?
Yeah, he's gone up in my estimation just because of how much of a laugh he sounds on a night out.
Del Horno also scored at Spurs away before all the Alonso fanboys in the comments start saying, "Oh, we scored 2 against Spurs away."
I was about to say.
Del Horno also scored against Spurs away.
Okay, let me just sort this thing out. TA9.
He also doesn't drink drive, you know. So.
Right, next player we're going to go to. I kind of spoiled it already. We're going to go to him already. N'Golo Kante. Now, people are saying he's past it based off the last few games, and I understand based on performances, but same way I said for ages, like I don't trust N'Golo Kante as a lone DM against a pressing side, and Manchester City was just a glaring obvious example of why. I think against teams that haven't pressed us, especially in the unbeaten run, he looked absolutely excellent, and the only real terrible run of form I saw from him, except the Christmas period, I'll give him the excuse that he was overplayed as well in that period. But the only struggles I've seen from him was the period we had in the 4-2-3-1 formation, like the games where we had Southampton, then Sevilla at home, and then Manchester United away. That was probably his worst run of games for the season because he was intercepting and winning the ball back excellently, but he was also turning over the ball badly as well. But other than that, I think he has had a very good season. Coming back from injury, he has looked very positive. I think he still has the most interceptions and most tackles in the league. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong. But I think 6.5, 7, I think would be a fair rating from him. You guys, let me know what your thoughts are.
I agree.
I think 6.5 is okay,
Yeah, I think he's a very good player, but just like the majority of our players other than Mount, he's suffering from confidence, low morale. Just he looks miserable when he plays as well. So it is what it is, man. We move.
Yeah, I think as well. To be fair, like, the people saying he's past it, like. I don't think he's past it, but you can see he's declining, but that just comes with age. I think, what is he, like 30 now, 29, 30? So it comes. It's one of those things.
And all those injuries as well, they're going to have their knocks on him too.
With the type of player he is, like if he was just like a Rice type player who just sat, then you'd probably expect a bit more because he's less mobile. But with the type of role he has and how much running he does, you kind of expect a little dip here and there.
Although that is kind of part of his issue, that he isn't positionally disciplined enough. Because if he was, he'd be better as a lone DM.
He's never been that type of player. Like he's never been.
You should adapt. If you play a lone DM, act like a lone DM, please.
Wasn't he like at Leicester as a part of a pivot? That's like it's supposed to be his best kind of thing. I don't know about you guys. I thought he was
a two-man midfield, like not in a 4-2-3-1 where you're deeper, isn't it?
I thought he was brilliant as a box-to-box as well under Sai. I thought he was one of our best players that season.
Yeah.
Plus, everyone just said he was out of position all game and just started chatting breeze.
No, he was amazing. He was
wrong.
He has the highest anticipation in the league.
Play DM instead of him.
Yeah.
Well,
but I don't know.
The thing is,
anyone to play DM instead of him is all I'm saying. That's the issue.
The thing is, as well, is you look at like every team he played at before he came to Chelsea and before he played at Asari, is he was in a defensive team. Like in France, he was playing for a team predicted to be relegated, so they were playing defensive football. At Leicester, it was defensive football and counter-attacking. Conte the same. Sarri was the first time it was like an attacking style of play, and then it's the same with Lampard. It's now different to what he's used to or what he's played through the most of his career. So,
yeah, fair. I guess you could say France aren't exactly defensive.
No, it's more the type of team he's playing in. Like they can't go like PSG and everyone attack because they'll just get.
No, I meant the national team. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about France. But yeah, then you look at the quality of players he's playing with. He's on an 11.
Right. So final rating for N'Golo Kante, guys. What are your thoughts?
6.5. I think we said 6.5, 7, something like that.
I'll give him a 7. I'll give him a 7. As an overall season, 7, I think.
I can get behind that because he's only had a couple of bad games.
I mean,
to me, it's just too close to Reece James again.
That's the thing. It's too close to James Silva for me. I'd say 6.5 would be more fairer.
That's
6.8. 6.8. Come on, 6.8. We can give him a 6.8.
we can always
6.8.
Nice.
You know what? Anything goes on this channel. I don't care. Yeah, he'll get a 6.8.
Because I don't think he's as bad as a 6.5, but I don't think he wasn't as good as a 7. So 6.8.
Aye, Kante's adorable, man. He gets his own rules, so
exactly.
I can never hate Kante, man. Never. Like he never.
Just for that, because we gave Kante a 6.8, I think everyone watching right now should subscribe and smash the like button, like right now. Do that.
And also check out Lawrence's channel on the title. Check out No Filter Football in the comment section below as well. And yeah, we'll move on to the next play. We'll go for someone a bit easier as well. Sadly, it is an easier one. Fikayo Tomori, one game this season. Really good 45 minutes against Liverpool, considering all the circumstances.
Well, technically, Lewis, it's 2 games.
Is it fair to give him a rating, though? I don't think it's fair to give him a rating for 2 games.
What was he?
You don't even get a medal for playing 4, so you should just not even give him a rating because he didn't even play this season. I don't think, right?
I say give him a 10.
Liverpool game. Did he play the Barnsley match in the third round?
10 minutes against Morecambe.
Yeah, 10 minutes.
Oh.
Wait, so he didn't even play the Barnsley game?
It's not fair. It's not fair.
I honestly can't remember.
Yeah.
We
I
are
think he did, because Thiago Silva wasn't
we're actually mocking it with this guy. We said yesterday this guy is the Paolo Maldini cosign, and we ain't even using this guy, and we're letting him go out on loan with an option to buy. It don't make sense, man. But what we're just not going to give Tomori a rating.
But he has a future at the club, though. We're giving him away for free almost.
I just don't think. Yeah, you can't give him a rating.
Don't give him a rating. I can give him a rating.
Has he even played a full 90 minutes? In total?
Nah. Like his combined total minutes this season don't even make up 90.
Yeah, Lewis, let's just be fair. Not give him a rating and wish he doesn't get fat from carbonaras, man, for his future. That's it. We're done.
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
If Tomori comes back winning the Serie A title, he's a big man.
I hope
There's no way. If he wins the Serie A title, he's not coming back to Chelsea. That's it. He's not.
If he gets any sniff of game time, he ain't coming back. Because
and win a title now, man.
He'll be unstoppable in Serie A with how slow that league is. He's rapid.
You know what he's gonna say? You know what he's gonna say? Do I stay in Serie A, right? Or do I go back to Chelsea and get bullied on social media by Jody Morris? He's like, nah, I'm gonna stay in Serie A. There you go, man.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not giving Tomori a rating anyway because I'm starting to run out of space on the ticker. So that is more than fine by me. Big up for Kyle Tomori, but this is just an honourable mention from him. All right, who do we still have left? We've got a couple players left. I'm going to go for the next one. The Danish brick wall himself, the Danish Franz Beckenbauer, Andreas Christensen. Now, if I was totally biased, I'd give him a 10. But if I'm going to sit here and be serious, I think with the game time that he's had as well, it's the same thing as Rudiger, to be honest. Well, I just don't think he's done much wrong. I don't think he's been outstanding in the games that he's played, but I think he's just been a bit solid overall. I'd stick with a 6, maybe. I can't go 6.5 because Chilwell's played more games, but
for me,
I'd say 6 from him. I think he gets way too much criticism. He barely plays, and when he does play, he doesn't really do too much wrong, bar the Liverpool red card. I haven't really seen any outright big mistakes that have led to goals from him this season.
That Liverpool red card was a big mistake, though.
Red card was a big mistake, though, but also I'm taking massive Kepa tax into it as well, so that's a 50-50.
No, you can't give him a 6. You can't.
No, for me, I'd say the same as Rudiger.
No.
Rudiger's got a 5. Okay, fair play. I thought Rudiger had a 6 too. My bad.
So 5. This Danish bakery doesn't deserve anything more than a 5. He wasn't impressive at all.
Makes no sense. I won't lie.
Would you give him more than a 5?
Only 0.5 better than Christensen and Rudiger. That makes no sense.
Would you give him a 5 though? Would you give him a 6 or a 7? I don't think he performed that well to be a 5 this season.
No, I only said 6.
4 or what?
Rudiger on a 6 too. Like that was just my bad. But as a 5, cool. Because if Chilwell's that close as well, I can't rate that.
Like for me, him and Rudiger basically are the same because they've had about the same amount of mistakes and they've had about the same amount of game time, I think, across the season. It's just like they've both been kind of solid, been okay, nothing spectacular. So it's like for me, they're basically the same rating.
Yeah, both have just been really good squad players for the season. But other than that, it's like not too much. There's been a mistake here and there from both of them, but neither of them have been outright terrible this season either.
Yeah.
5, everyone good with a 5?
Yeah.
5.
Nice. 5 for the Danish Maldini. I am happy with that. We will move on to Willy Caballero. He's had has it been 1 game this season as well? I don't even know if we can give him a rating.
Did he even play?
He's played. He's had the Barnsley game. And anything else?
Wasn't it Kepa?
Nah,
because when you haven't signed yet.
Kept a clean sheet, remember?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So he's actually
give him a rating
this season. Is he going to be another one that doesn't get a rating then?
Yeah, man. 10 for the clean sheet.
Where did you get that picture? Where did you get that picture from, Lewis?
No.
Oh, Google Images.
You picked all the good photos, man. Like Jesus.
With him, I was really struggling to find anything from this season, so I just had to go for high quality last season one. But yeah, Willy Caballero, another one for the forgotten pile, but big up yourself anyway. Next, Billy Gilmore. This one will definitely feel a lot more positive. Really should be having a lot more game time as well. Man of the match against Krasnodar in his first match back. Yes, it was Krasnodar, but I don't care. It's his Champions League debut, and the guy dropped another 10 out of 10. What other games has he had this season? He had
He's only played like 3 or 4, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's had a couple games, like enough for us to give him a rating. In my opinion. And I think it's been optimistic in the games that he has played. Has he had the league game this season though? I can't recall for the life of me if he has.
I don't even know.
Did he not start against West Ham?
He wanted that.
I thought he did.
No, I don't think so. I don't think he did.
I'm gonna go check.
Yeah, someone let us know in the comment section if he played a league game this season. Yeah. But all I can recall is the 2 cup games, the Champions League match against Krasnodar, and that's about it, really. I don't really.
I think he did come on in a game, but I can't remember what game it was.
He came on Everton game. Yeah.
How much? I would give him a 6.
So I remember, Lewis.
I think a 6 is fair, no?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Caballero played the West Brom match. Forgot about that.
Well, he conceded 3 goals in that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm running out of space on the bottom anyway, so I'm still going to leave Willie Caballero because he hasn't played enough. But Billy Gilmore, we can give him a rating. They're saying
think it's
Man
7.
City. I don't remember. Did he come on against Man City?
Bro, if
Billy
he did, you can't rate him for that. Like, we were 3-0 down, and it was like,
No, let me
Yeah,
just
he did.
check quickly.
He also came on against
Okay.
Everton.
I don't think sub
Yeah,
appearances.
he did come on against City, but like that was like the least needed substitution out of the 3, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. I remember we complained about it. Yeah, I remember. Now I remember.
Yeah, he didn't come on against West Ham though.
Yeah. I would give him a 7. Well, the games he has played, he was probably better than a 7, but he hasn't played enough to get more than a 7.
That's the thing. Like, if we're judging him on just performances, yeah, you probably would say he's like 6.5, 7 because of he's played well when he's played. He just hasn't played anywhere near enough.
I would give him a 6 because it's not fair to give him a 7 whenever Reece James and all those guys like busted their asses the whole season.
To be
And
fair,
he got like
though,
4 games.
Longevity
that's
is
not his
taken
fault.
into account.
I'd say he's been as good as those
not,
players.
but-
He hasn't had the game time.
That's why 7. I would.
I don't know. For me, 6.5 or a 6. I wouldn't give him a 7.
I can take a 6.5. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can take that's like I said 6.5 or 7.
Yeah, 6.5 because the performances he's had, I think, have been very good for his age still. So I'll go for that. Billy gets a 6.5. Who do we still have next? We've got about 5 or 6 more players still to go from.
Emerson.
Billy
If they want to do the bad ones first.
Oh no, I don't. Oh, I'm
Ah!
gonna get, when we get
No,
to
that's just hilarious because that's the one player I forgot to add on here. Yeah, cool. Emerson. Let's talk about Emerson. Emerson, like he hasn't played a lot this season, which
I
I
thought
think
he's
is
been okay when he played. Personally,
that's
I
the
don't know.
benefit because I don't want him to play regularly because once he
I
plays
agree. I
regularly,
don't think he was that bad.
inconsistent.
I think
Yeah, I
he's been
think he's been decent. Good game against Sevilla. Good game against Krasnodar. I can't recall for the Chilwell played against Rennes and he was getting done in because he was getting overplayed as well. The Krasnodar home
A
game
most
though, was
dangerous play
absolutely
against
awful.
Morecambe. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he
Morecambe
created a
as
few
well. There were a
chances
couple of
actually.
good
Yeah.
performances.
I don't think he's that bad. I think Lampard just doesn't like him, but I don't think he's that bad. I would give him a
Yeah, I don't
5.5.
either.
Yeah,
That's
As a
exactly
player,
what
I
I'd give
think
him.
I'm
Yeah.
happy with the position he's in right now. I don't want to see him play consistently because you'll see why he only plays consistently. But the odd game here and there, cool. I can throw him in there and it'll be a bit fresh and we could get a decent Emerson. But
Even-
game in and game out, nah, I'm good. I don't want to see that ever again.
I think
Yeah,
as
but-
well, even in games like if we were doing a bit better in the league, even in games like against your like Burnleys or against your like Sheffield Uniteds or whatnot, you could chuck him in those sorts of games to give Chilwell the rest here and there. Like if we were doing a bit better.
Yeah, I just never
I
want
agree.
to outright have to rely on Emerson for anything.
No,
But
I
I'm happy
agree.
with him as a second option.
Yeah.
I think
I mean-
5.5, 5 is fair.
Yeah,
5.5,
5.5 as well. Yeah.
Emerson, 5.5. Cool.
Hmm.
Okay, next player. I hope I haven't forgotten anybody else at this point. I actually thought I had everybody. We'll go for Callum Hudson-Odoi. Now, the performances the last few weeks have been excellent from him. If we're going to go from a season's perspective, I'll be real. First 2-3 months of the season, whenever he played, he really didn't impress me that much. And Frank Lampard, low-key, did look justified in not giving him the game time he needed. But he has turned the corner. And sadly, he hasn't been given the game time that warrants it. But every single time he's played over the last month, he's probably been the best attacker on the pitch.
Yeah,
I agree with the
with
chat. They're all
Yeah.
saying 7. I agree with that.
Yeah.
7 for Callum Hudson-Odoi.
Yeah.
Would
most
you
definitely.
say less or more?
At least.
Based on the whole season, I could see a 6.5. Like, first half of the season, he really wasn't that impressive. Second
No,
half
you're
of the
not wrong.
first
You're
half, he's
not
been really good. But I think everyone's being a bit too reactionary if they're going to say a 7 because first half, he really wasn't that good.
Okay, fair, yeah. Okay, let's do 6.5.
Right, 6.5 for Cho. Anyone else got any disagreements? Or are we good?
No, we're good.
I'll say 7 because he's my justice for Callum and that. But yeah,
Hey,
just
that
going
agenda
for it.
will run. Like, if we could go agendas, I would have given Christensen a 10 off the bat. So I understand.
Maybe even an 11, like, do you know what I mean?
11,
Hey, if we're gonna go for all numbers, I'll go 6 digits in that shit.
Yeah.
Who do we have? No, we've already done Antonio Rudiger. I
Yeah.
will just get him over and done with. What's your ratings?
Oh, Jesus
'cause-
Christ.
Big up the Morecambe game. Big up the Morecambe game.
Big up the Morecambe game because finally the man kept a clean sheet, but I'm still not gonna let that.
10,
So I'm
10
not
again.
going to let that get away from the rest of the season.
No,
Like, still conceding a goal with every single shot on target. Came back for the Krasnodar game and still conceded with his first shot on target. I only think
Well, he
there's one
couldn't
rating
save that.
this guy.
We had to
What do
panic.
you
buy.
mean? It was another one where it just seemed like he couldn't reach it. And it's the same thing
You
with
can't blame him for being short. Like that's not his fault.
Yes, but that's also why he don't start regularly for us, because he can't reach the corners. Like, look at the Brighton
We
goal.
shouldn't have signed him for 8 million now, should we?
Half of the goals I see Kepa concede, I look at it and I say Edouard Mendy would save it because he's a taller goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I've got mates that are taller than Kepa, like, and they're not even that tall. Like that's basically it for me. But what are you guys' thoughts anyway? Kepa, what's the rating?
I'd say three.
We had to panic sign a keeper because of how terrible he was.
But was he? He wasn't terrible. That's what the thing that amazes me, because he was pretty good with Sarri. Why did he become so just dog shit? Sorry for my.
It's
my
because of the
French.
height
Under
thing.
Lampard.
Yeah.
Well, apparently his girlfriend broke up with him, innit? So
Jesus Christ, man, that guy's too emotional. He was more emotional than Lampard in, guys. If that's the reason he got like, he decided to be like, hey, I'm gonna just suck at my job from now
it's
on.
Valentine's Day soon. We all just send him a Valentine's card. Hey, he'll be massive. He'll be best goalkeeper in the world.
I think, to be fair, I think some of it does come down to what you were saying, Lewis, about the height. I think you get to a point where, like, when you see he's not commanding in the air because of the height and he gets beaten if you put it in the corners and whatnot, like, players will react to that. And particularly managers and, like, coaches and analysts, they'll look at that. And I think some of it comes down to that. And, yeah, that's not his fault, but at the same time, like, he's still making mistakes at times and whatnot. Like,
yeah. I'd say 3.
Yeah, I can't give him any more than that.
Yeah.
I think 3's a bit of a madness, but yeah, cool. Yeah, we'll give
Would
him
you
a
have
3.
said less?
Yeah, I would have said a 2 maybe. I mean, tempted to go into Alonso regions. Like, the guy's conceded with nearly every shot on target except the Balkan match. Like, I can't give him too much of a rating. It's the same thing as last season, where it's like we concede a shot and 9 times out of 10 it's a goal. Can I give him a high rating for that? I don't think so.
Yeah, he's made the most errors in the Premier League this season.
I've just remembered the Brighton goal.
And he barely played. Like, yeah, you know what? I'm taking it down to a 2.
I just remember the Trossard Brighton goal on his weaker foot from outside the box that literally anyone and their nan could save, and he'd messed that up.
That's the thing. Like, it's not an agenda. It's just, bro, save some shots on target and we can go from there. But right now, we ain't even doing that.
That Southampton game really pissed me off.
How did we go from Courtois to this guy, man? Gee, it depresses me every day. Every time I think
Everyone
about it.
says it's the goalkeeper coach, Hilario. They're saying the last 3 goalkeepers have regrets underneath him.
Yeah, but didn't Courtois was under him and he won the World Golden Glove. I think that's an easy thing to blame the assistants coach.
The World Golden Glove.
Yeah, he won.
Hilario and Asari. Cudicini was on a Conte, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. I heard it was Hilario, but someone can correct me.
I met Cudicini when he was part of Conte's staff, but I'm not sure whether he was the goalkeeper coach or not. But he was definitely part of the staff at least.
I think it was Hilario, but Cudicini, that'll be a surprise to me. Let me have a quick look.
I thought Sarri had his own Italian one in, you know. I thought Sarri brought his own Italian goalkeeper coach.
Paolo Cudicini, let's see what he was doing. Was he at Chelsea?
Isn't Christophe Lollichon still part of the goalkeeping?
Yeah, he's head of the goalkeeping department. He does everything.
The first team head coach. He was just club ambassador and assistant, but he didn't have any goalkeeping roles. Yeah. While we're here, though, I will check out Hilario just to completely make sure I got all my facts right. Right, here we are. Hilario
is definitely the goalkeeping coach. Like he's part of the
he is now. Yeah. And he was
assistant goalkeeping coach from Antonio Conte's reign forward.
Yeah. You know how I remember Hilario? Every time I play Football Manager, he's the worst coach there. And every time I just sack him and get a new one. That's how I remember him. That's the only reason I know he is.
And who's been coaching our last 3 goalkeepers, and apparently has the second worst save percentage in Premier League history. So it's like,
Jesus Christ. Well, that's convenient, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if that's true, then.
But have to check it's now part of training. So shouldn't he coach Kepa?
Apparently, Petr Cech was training with Kepa and Caballero before the start of the season, and he was outperforming them game in and game
that's what
out.
Mark Schwarzer said, didn't he?
Yeah. So, like, it's really sticky for our goalkeepers right now. And I hope it ain't the same story for Edouard Mendy. But if Edouard Mendy's form drops too, we know why.
But would you say like it's because he's a goalkeeper and they don't even need to run? So I think you can you can be a goalkeeper until you're 40 or something. So it's not like all he does have to do is like jump from here to here. It's not like such a athletically demanding, position, So
Tell that to Kepa and his inability to jump for the top corners.
But Kepa's just Shiza, man. That's just him, man.
Kepa should just get him like some trampoline boots or something.
It's mad.
He's just Jesus Christ.
Right. We will. How many players we got left? I think we got about 5 more left.
Yeah, I think 4 or 5.
Get a bit more positive now. We'll start off with Mason Mount, another player that potentially could be our player of the season. I think, in terms of consistency, has been our best number 8 this season as well. Started the season poorly, but we played him out of position on the left-hand side. He was getting a lot of criticism for it, but if anything, the criticism should be more blamed on Lampard for even playing him.
On his dad, on his dad. Go.
Yeah, but as a player, definitely one of the higher ratings of the squad. I think I'd personally go for, if we're giving Thiago Silva and Reece James 7.5s, I think Mason Mount's potentially going to have to go to an 8 or maybe even an 8.5.
But for me, he's been our best player personally.
I'll give an 8. Yeah, 8.
Okay.
8.
I would have said same as Reece, but yeah, I can take an 8.
Yeah, he's just been a bit more consistent than Reece James obviously injuries aside as a factor, but in terms of performances, I think he's been a bit more consistent.
People in the chat saying 9. No, man. He can't be 9 if we sit in 8th. He cannot be 9 if we sit in 8th.
Yeah, if he's in 9th, he's dragging us into a top 4 race minimum.
Yeah, it's not 9.
Yeah, Mount will get an 8, and we will move on to Lawrence. This one will be for you. We'll go through this a bit easier now. We'll go for Kai Havertz. What are your thoughts on Kai Havertz this season?
It's tough because it feels harsh because a bit like with some outside influences, and I mean people underestimate it. Obviously, catching a certain thing has had a long-lasting effect on him. It doesn't do on everybody, but it clearly does on him. The one thing I don't understand about that situation is Frank used that as an excuse for him in December, early January, but played him the 5 games consecutively after he was first back. So that makes no sense to me at all. He started to get good just before he caught it. His Burnley game was his best performance, and for that game itself, he was one of our best players on that day. But since then, it's just not been good enough. It didn't matter whether it's Morecambe. It didn't matter whether it's he was better against Morecambe. Don't get me wrong, and he was much better. But you can gelling and the pressing isn't like quite on par with the rest of the teammates and stuff. That is all one thing, but he can't control the ball. Like even against Leicester, the amount of time he miscontrolled the ball, it's just disappointing. And I'm by no means saying he won't come good. I guarantee he will, more so than I guarantee it for Werner. But so far, it's just been poor. And I think he's been both. I know that will go for Werner as well. As much as Werner has been good at the start of the season, I think he's been worse than Jorginho. So hence why I would say 3.
3 for Kai Havertz.
Bro, yeah, one good game.
Oh, mad.
The annoying thing is,
I feel like his play's been pretty good until about the time that he went down with the virus. After that, I think it's definitely been a very, very slow.
You remember how he started? Like I remember the game against Southampton. He was amazing. He was the man of the match. I think confidence just killed him. I don't know how.
He gave the ball away in that game for us to concede a goal.
Yeah. But
maybe a 4. No, I will say we met a 4.
It's for me. It's so disheartening, man. Like with what you were saying, Lewis, about Christian wanting to give him a 10. Havertz is my guy that I want to give him a 10. I love this guy, man.
Well. Would we be giving Pulisic a better rating than Havertz then?
I would.
I would say just across the whole season because I think.
But I understand why, because like both of them haven't really been amazing this season. But I do think Kai Havertz has been a bit more influential.
I just it's for me. It's
can you really say he's been better than Jorginho? Like you, for maybe I'm just wrong, but I mean, fair if you think so. I just think
the thing for me with like Jorginho is this: in this team, I can't see him ever doing. I never see anything where I look and I go, I see stuff in your play that will come good. Like you can come good. With Havertz, for me, it's a bit different. I see bits of play where I go, like if the team was just built around you and built in a system that worked with you, he could be doing so much better. And that's why for me, he's the only player in this whole range where I look at and I feel sorry because he has had a poor season, but so much of it for me just is not down to him. It's
That's
just
the thing.
so bad. It's so annoying.
That's the thing. The things that he's done on the ball, right? I feel like it's been more of a case where, like, for example, there's so many times I see this guy in space and nobody tracks his run. Like, it's another case where Jorginho or Kovacic just has his damn head down. I haven't seen it. And when he's on the ball, it's like he always does the right things. It's just it doesn't really have much impact in terms of goal or assist at the end of it. But he never really does much wrong until he's come back from the virus. Since then, like, there's been a lot more mistakes in his game.
But that is a long time ago now. Like, that's too much.
I don't think he's aware what he's supposed to do. I think he's tactically confused, and I think it's our whole midfield, other than Mount, doesn't know what the hell they're supposed to do. I think they're all confused. Like, if you watched our games, the space we leave from a midfield toward the attack is insane. That is, like, I have never seen a Chelsea team coach worse, like, in my life, and I'm not being harsh on Lampard. So I said I would judge Werner and Havertz whenever I have a different manager underneath him. I will not judge any of them. And Lewis.
Yeah, well, no. I get that, mate. But you can't blame Lampard for them not controlling a ball.
Yeah, but if they don't have confidence, right? If they don't have confidence, take them out. Why would you put them on the pitch? If you say he has COVID and then you play him in a game that is it's very difficult, why would you play him? He managed them wrong.
I agree
from the beginning. So for me, Lewis, I've already told you this. All the new players, I will only judge them if they're under a world-class manager and not someone from Derby. That's just my opinion.
Right. The thing is, like, I know obviously we're going off the whole season, but you look at that Leicester game, like the run he made for the chance he had, the Chilwell put him through, like no one else in hardly anyone else in our team is making those sorts of runs through the gaps. And it's just, then you look at
He's getting better for sure.
Yeah, and it's like the annoying thing is like the thing that, like, I get he doesn't do is like drop deep or like press all that much. He can, but like it's not all that much. He doesn't drop deep, but that's not his job. And like playing him in, like, it's as I said in the live stream yesterday, it's like getting Messi and asking him to be a CDM. It just doesn't work. It's not going to work because he doesn't know how to do it. It's not.
Didn't his ex-coach came out and said, like, Lampard is using him completely wrong. He's not that type of player.
No, that was Werner.
No, also his coach. Also his coach.
Coach came and said that.
Both of them said
You know how many managers are like giving Lampard tips, just putting the arm around? It's like, nah, man, you're doing it wrong. This is what you need to do. It's
Did you see the Southampton was worse? The Southampton was the worst one because he literally said Lampard is not getting the best out of Werner. He's using him wrong. But then again, Austrian people are pretty direct, straightforward. So that's why he was asked the question. He just answered him.
To be fair to Hasenhüttl, like, what is he saying? Is he saying Chelsea should turn into a counter-attacking team again? Thank you, no. I mean, I'd rather sell Werner than play counter-attacking football again.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think. I mean, we could play similar to Leicester, which we don't. Which, like, I would say is similar to him.
Yeah,
true.
I just want similar to him. Squad the best.
Yeah,
I don't think if it's pragmatic or if it's attacking football. I just want something that fits our squad.
I just want our players to do three passes before they lose the ball. That's all I want. See, you guys are asking for too much. I'm taking baby steps.
You want the basics first.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Lampard wants. Apparently, we're not doing the basics right. So let's start doing the basics right.
Hi, big up Alex, man.
Big up.
Oh, mate. Right, who are we even talking about? Kai Havertz. Actually, no, perfect timing. Vitma, seeing as you just joined us, thoughts on Kai Havertz this season?
Well, Kai Havertz he has not really gotten the opportunity to really play any football. I mean, we judged him. Well, maybe Lampard judged him after maybe 2 games or so. So it's hard. But if we were just to give him his team rating, I would have to give him a 5 also, maybe 4.
One thing we forgot to say, like, he spent at least half the season playing right wing, man. Like, again, it's not, and it's not like
just the opening games of the season. Like the first 2-3, that was more like the first 2-3 games of the season.
That was more like at least 5-6 games, I swear.
Yeah.
Now, when was the first game we did 4-2-3 run? Right. So we had the West Brom game where we drew 3-3, and I'm sure we started playing the 4-2-3 one after that because we had the Crystal Palace game after that. That was our first 4-2-3-1 game. Let me just check.
The Palace one?
Yeah, it was. It was. That was our next league game after the 3-3 draw to West Brom. So that's when we switched to Kai Havertz in the number 10 role.
West Brom we played. 4-2-3-1.
All right, cool. So, again, your thoughts, Kai Havertz?
I think, to be fair, I think if we're being like real, he has had a poor season, but I think a lot of it isn't necessarily down to him. I think it's just,
Yeah.
I think he probably is like a 4 for the season, but as I said, I don't think like with the thing that he got, with the lack of being in a position and a system that suits him, I think probably a 4.
Yeah.
Annoyingly,
I'd personally go for a 5 at least. Sorry, Steph, I don't think you're getting the rating that you want today.
I'd take a 5. Bro, as I said, I'd give him. I'd agree
push
with
for
Steph.
a 5, maybe a 5.5, because I do think he's been a victim of circumstance for the most part this season.
Yeah.
Poor formations, like the virus and everything like that, assimilating into a new league as well and adapting to the intensity of the Premier League. There's been a lot to struggle with from the first half of the season. The one thing I will say, though, we've said it plenty of times on this channel, his numbers in the second half of the season are litness every single season. So
I mean, it can't exactly get worse now, can they?
what's his numbers so far this season?
1 goal
And
in
they're
the
not even
league.
that bad, but, you know,
All the
3 of
Barnsley
them
games.
come against Barnsley. So,
I was
yeah,
gonna
we
say,
can't
in the league,
talk
it's
about
1 goal. I don't know about assists.
You know,
I think it was
yeah,
2 assists.
he hasn't set the league alight, you know. But again, I will not judge him. But I'll give him a 5. I'll give him a 5 just because he has a cool name, man. That's it. 5. Because we have the same name, so I'm just gonna give him a 5.
Compared to the other players that we, I'd have to go 5.5 if we got Emerson on 5.5. That can't run. If we got Emerson,
of course it can. Emerson played well when he played. Havertz didn't.
Havertz has had good performances though.
Yeah, but Barnsley.
No. That's just good output. I mean, good performances.
Yeah,
good
like against
performances.
Leicester,
More games like that. I'm gonna push to a 5.5 now. I can't lie.
No, man, Louis. So can't be biased.
But it can't go higher than 5.
I'm seeing on here, so we can't have him lower than that.
To be fair, didn't you say we could go through at the end and adjust any that might need adjusting if they look a bit off?
If you want to do that, I mean, we can do that.
Like, you go through all of them.
Want to leave it as a 5 for now, and we'll go back to
at the end, go through quickly and then look and see if any of them need changing.
All right, Kai Havertz 5, and we'll go look at that later on. Who have we got next?
Let's do Werner before we do Ziyech.
Let's just go straight to it. Timo Werner. Now, it is weird because in terms of numbers, he scored like once every 3 games. So in reality, for a start, that's not really too bad. 15 goal involvements in the first half of the season as well. Not the best of numbers, but the same way it's not terrible. But also
missed the same amount of sitters as he scored goals, to be fair.
The thing for me, though, is and I've said this before, like, you look at, like, say, Mane and Salah at Liverpool. If you actually go and watch games, like, there was games last season, there was a game I remember, they missed so many sitters, like, they kept missing chances, but they both ended up scoring at least once each. And, like, you look at their numbers. But you look at their numbers at the end of the season. Yeah, they score loads, but they also miss loads. But it's because of the amount of chances that they as a team create. Us as a team, we just don't create that many chances. I'm talking like proper clear-cut chances, like the one against Fulham, which he should have scored, absolutely should have scored. But we don't create many chances like that for him in a position where it's good for him. And I think, as Lewis said, his numbers aren't that bad. Like 1 in 3 is not bad. And he's our joint top scorer. And that's with missing like how many games has he gone without scoring now? Like 7, something like that, or wherever it is.
No, if you don't count Morecambe, he didn't score for 15 games.
And he's our top goal scorer.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Did we say Tammy Abraham had an 8 after last season just because he was joint top goal scorer? He's awful. He can't control the ball. He can't pass. He can't dribble. He can't finish. You not see the finish.
He can dribble. Like you saw against like Leicester, for example, his movement, when he came off the bench, even though he was playing deeper, his movement was so much better than anyone else we had on the pitch, apart from maybe Havertz. But Havertz just didn't have enough time to really do much.
I agree. And Leicester was probably one of his best performances in 3 months. And that sounds great.
There's the thing with Werner is 2 ways. If you look at it in terms of his statistics, it doesn't look like a terrible season for him. If you look at it in terms of his performances, it don't look good for him, especially if you're going to take the last month into contribution. And I get that we're looking at it from a season point of view, but 1 goal in potentially 15 games, like even with 1 goal in 3 games, that's still a damning stat in itself. So it all depends on which way you want to look at it at. Vitmus, what about you? What are your thoughts on Timo Werner for the season?
Well, Timo get a lot of chances to score in many games, bro. I mean, Scott said he's playing, not really playing like in the position he wants to play, or we're not really playing the type of football that suits him. But if we look back at the chances that he's got as an individual striker, even playing from the wing, coming inside, he's got tons of chances, and he couldn't score any, bro. You get me? And as I said, I'm not really gonna judge Timo. I mean, it's his first season. He's playing in a club that's low in confidence. So if I was to really rate him, I would give him like a 5, to be honest. You cannot rate no more than a 5.
What do we give Giroud and Tammy? Because for me, I don't think he's been worse than them.
What?
So we gave him 6.5.
Oh, Giroud?
Giroud and Tammy both got 6.5.
Of course, bro. Giroud deserve a 6, bro, or a 5. 6
Actually, no, for me, Giroud's been better. That's fair enough. But I don't think he's been any worse than Tammy, personally, across the whole season.
No,
because I haven't seen the bad performances from Giroud that I've seen from Timo Werner.
No, that's what I said. In hindsight, on reflection, yeah. I think
Same thing as well. Like a lot of people saying, he has been played out of position for most of the season as well, and that is going to be a factor to it.
Yeah, but playing out of position, but he still got chances, bro. You forgot about the Leeds game. He got 2 clear one-on-ones.
I know, but the one good thing, and this is the difference between him and Alvaro Morata, I don't think he's missed a single chance that's directly cost us a point. Like, he's been missing chances when we've already been winning games.
Yeah.
True. No, that is true.
Yeah, that's why it hasn't been dwelled on as well.
But that's not down to him now, is it?
No, like I'll get like one-on-one chances. There's some chances they really should have put away. Like the Rennes miss. I'm not going to say anything about that. There was one against West Ham. We just basically passed it back to the goalkeeper. He really could have done better on that as well.
Like
I get
he missed it from the goal line against Leeds.
I was going to say,
already on the goal line.
The Leeds one. Can we actually get through this? Was that even a shot? Because part of it looked like he was taking a touch, and I was thinking, why do you even?
I think he has tried to like get on the end of that in, and it's hit.
Yeah, I think he tried to like.
I thought he was trying to like control it. That's what I think.
Like, tried to put it in with the small of his boot, but got there too close.
To touch that one.
He looked like he was trying to stab it in or something.
Yeah.
If he tried to touch that, that's even worse. What's he doing? Trying to control the ball on the line.
This is the thing. We know Timo Werner takes a lot of chances. We know he's a high volume striker. It's the same thing he was at RB Leipzig. He needs to be more clinical. It's the Premier League, cool, but that's also adaptation, isn't it?
Yeah. The one thing I will say in terms of the thing with Morata is I'll always back Werner much more than Morata, and it's not just because I think he's better in terms of quality. His attitude is levels above Morata. Definitely. Like you saw from that when he came out and said, "I know I need to improve. I know this is going to be a difficult transition." He understands. Like he's fully aware of how much work he has to put in. Where he had Morata making excuses for himself, like left, right, and centre.
What did you guys think of him not celebrating at all his goal against Morecambe? I thought that was a bit weird, especially when you're struggling.
To be fair, Kai's been doing that as well, though. Like you saw the goal he scored against Morecambe, he didn't celebrate. I think that just comes down to confidence, how you're feeling at the minute.
I wouldn't blame him.
I think it's weird.
10 games.
Push yourself up a bit.
No, but if you haven't scored over 10 games and you scored against League 2 Morecambe, I'd be getting pissed off if he's wheeling off celebrating.
I'm not saying get wheel off.
I mean, like last week.
At least look happy.
That's
but you've seen it with strikers when they don't score for ages. They finally get a goal and it's like they can't even celebrate it just out of sheer embarrassment.
Yeah. Morata done that as well, I think.
I say he just like didn't bother.
Like he just didn't look like he cared, to be honest.
When he scored.
No, I'm saying, mate, he knows he's just like, I know I should be doing better, and scoring against Morecambe is not really a big deal. So it's like, oh my word, it's a League 2 or League 3 team. Like, come on, I should be scoring.
Also, a big example, we all clown Vinicius for his celebration against Marines. So,
bro, like I said, I'm not saying like go crazy and do like an Mbappe celebration, but at least look happy. And against Fulham, he missed the sitter, and he didn't even look bothered. He didn't even look just disappointed.
No, he was. You saw the pictures from after the game.
After he was, but when it happened, he was looking like, all right, every week now, fair enough. I'm not even saying he felt that, but that's just what he looked like. I know, guys. I know I'm very hard on Werner, but I just can't understand how you guys accept a player that cost you 50 million. Because there's a difference between there's missing sitters and there is not controlling a ball. Like the Fulham one, he shouldn't have had one sitter. He should have had 3 if he could control the ball.
No, at least one of those was not his fault. Kovacic could play.
Yeah, no, Kovacic was Kovacic's fault. Yeah, I agree.
Like that.
But there was one where it was literally Arsenal, the first miss against Arsenal for Morata again, where he was just through on goal, 20 yards of space between the nearest defender, and the man shot closer to the corner flag. I mean, there is some where it's like, bro, you could have done better. Even put the thing on target.
Oh, that comment.
As a final rating, what are we saying for Timo Werner? We'll go around the panel. Lawrence, I'll start with you.
What did we give Havertz? 5.
5.
Well, I mean, I think that should be lower as well, but then I'll give Werner a 5 as well.
Nice. What about you?
I'd say with what the ratings are at the minute, 5.5, because I think he's been a little bit better. I understand he's missed chances, but he's also been he has scored some goals, so I think 5.5.
This is true, to be fair. He has been better than Havertz. I will say that.
Yeah, but again, it depends on what we end up finishing. At the minute, I'd say 5.5.
Kaya, what about you? Timo Werner, thoughts on him this season?
I don't want to judge these guys unless they get a new manager, but based on this season and my expectation of him, I'd give him a 5.
Okay. Vitmus, what about you?
5.5. Likewise, I'm good. 5.55. You know, no, I don't have a problem with him apart from just not scoring. I back what my guys say. Until we get a manager, I'll give Timo Werner the proper, analysis.
Yeah, you're not going to judge a monkey on his ability to climb trees. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I probably did that wrong. You're not gonna judge a fish on the ability to climb trees.
You're going to judge
Yeah. So,
we got what the original reference
No,
was.
I mean,
so
it's cool.
you're not gonna expect a 5'11" guy to get headers and to play with crosses, So
Yeah.
I'm not
Exactly
gonna give him.
that. Ryan, what are your thoughts? Timo Werner this season? You're on mute, bro. You're on mute. I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah, all good, bro.
But yeah, I'll give him a 5. I'll just hope it's the case of he gets 1 or 2 goals, which are good goals, not just tap-ins from 2 yards, and then he finds that confidence to get more. But yeah, he looks explosive at times, just not consistently. Like we saw it against Newcastle when he had a nice assist. And other times as well, he looks explosive. It just doesn't come enough. But yeah, I think he's been decent. Not decent. I think he's just been okay. He hasn't been terrible overall. He's been terrible in moments, but not overall for me. And he's just been decent.
Yeah.
All right. So overall, then, are we going to go for a 5? 5 good?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
All right,
5.
calm. We'll drop a 5 for Timo Werner, and we'll go into the.
But by the way,
so
whoever said
three
about
more-
the Pulisic thing, sorry to interrupt, whoever said a Pulisic thing, I might have been right.
What was that?
The thing where they said about Pulisic being better than Havertz, in the ratings, Pulisic might have to be dropped a little bit.
Yeah, don't worry. We're going to look back on all the ratings when we get to the final one. We've only got 2 or 3 left at this point.
2 left, I think.
Yeah, 2 left, and of course the manager. We'll talk about Frank Lampard as well. Tino Anjorin, another one who's only had a few games this season, but has looked slightly promising in the games he played as well. Played against Krasnodar, really good performance. Didn't play against Everton. Did he play against Everton as well?
Didn't you say he came on for Everton, or he came on in the last few minutes?
No, we needed him to come on because
Lewis?
Tammy Abraham.
Are we gonna be honest, or are we gonna give them Alex Goldberg ratings? Because I'm gonna give them based on what I've seen from them.
How many?
I'll give him a 6. I'll give him a 6 because he haven't done anything spectacular. He was all right when he came on, but I'm not gonna say, he's the next greatest thing we've ever seen. No, he's a 6. That's for me at least.
Yeah.
I think didn't he only start 1 game?
Yeah, against
He
Krasnodar.
only played 1 game. I thought he would have played more than that this season.
I don't remember what games he's played.
Is it fair to rate him?
Because he didn't even
if he's
start.
only played 1 game,
He
we'll
only
leave
came
him.
from the bench in that as well.
I think he played in the Barnsley game too.
I don't.
No.
he
This guy's he's had 1 appearance this season.
Yeah, that's fair.
We'll leave Tino Anjorin.
But I'm just gonna say, on that Krasnodar performance, I think he just done the basics well. I don't think he shined like a Gilmore against Liverpool, but I feel like he just done the basics well. And he had a nice couple of touches here and there. So I think he just looked decent for a Champions League debut as well. He doesn't want to try too much rainbow flicks and stuff, and then him losing the ball and stuff. So yeah, I think it was decent against Krasnodar. So if we're gonna give it an overall, I'll just give him a 6, like I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is more than fine from me. And now we'll move to penultimate player because I just realized I missed somebody yet again. Kurt
missed Zuma.
Zuma. Guys, talk to me about Kurt
yeah.
Zuma's season because he's been excellent. And I actually can't believe I forgot about him. But what a season this guy's had. And to be honest, he should be playing more right now. Well, like Rudiger, I don't mind as a squad player, but he shouldn't be going over Kurt Zuma right now. Lawrence, what are your thoughts?
I think just because of Thiago Silva being one of the reasons why Kurt Zuma has been so good, I can't give him quite that same rating, but I would say just under, so I would say 7, because obviously he has scored a lot of goals, a lot of important goals. I think we would have probably had a much more comfortable game against Fulham had he played, because we had so many corners that our players got on the end of, but none of them were like have any power, any direction on them. Even against Leicester, you could argue that, because we had 3 good corners and none of them were met with any sort of intent other than the Thiago Silva flick. So I would say 7. I think it's been very good. I think it's been I wouldn't say surprisingly good, but a little bit still. But like I said, probably helped by Thiago Silva as well. So I would personally go 7. I think it's been good.
I think he still has those like little, like he's like in terms of on the ball, he's still quite poor and still has a few mistakes. But I think we're starting to see a bit more of him back when we bought him that season, or was it when we bought him? When that season just before he got injured against United, when he was like really dominant in the air, winning everything. It's starting to see a bit more go back towards how good he was then. And yeah, I think some of it does come down to having Thiago Silva next to him. But then at the same time, you have to step up. Like we've already seen, like Rudiger hasn't really stepped up. Same for Christensen. Yep. Zuma has, and he's got to be commended for that.
Yeah.
All right. So final rating for Kurt Zuma, guys.
I'd say Silva, but I don't remember.
7.5. 7.5. Because I think as well, having someone so dominant in both boxes, because like we saw it in 2018-19 and even 2019-20 as well, like last season, where Zuma was like rotational, like it was mostly Rudiger and Christensen. Having someone in both boxes, knowing that there's at least a 50% chance that he's going to get his head on it and he's going to get it on target in both boxes is really good as well. I think it's just, I hope he'll just come with age, that he just gets better on the ball and just has that better understanding of when to pass, when to come out a little bit. And yeah, I think he made one big mistake against Southampton, where Kepa's special, man. He made Zuma's mistake into his mistake. He's some special guy. And now he's special, man. But yeah, I think Zuma's been, I think up to when he kind of got dropped a little bit, I think he was one of our best players. So I'd give him a 7.5.
7.5 is that what everyone's saying? Because I don't mind that, but that's also the same rating Reece James and Thiago Silva have.
For me, I think he's the same as Thiago Silva. Like, I think he's been as good.
I don't know. 7 for me. I don't. It's up to you guys.
I'd say 7, but I can understand.
Thiago Silva 7.5. I thought it was 8.
No. We have only 8 is Mason Mount so far.
Can't forgive the West Brom. The West Brom slide cannot be forgiven, man. It's not that easy.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be a bit harsh here, but cool. Yeah, that's Thiago Silva with Kurt Zuma with a 7, and I think we're down to our 5. Hakim Ziyech.
Bro,
now, he's another one that hasn't had a lot of performances this season. Excellent first 3 games. As soon as he's come back from the injury, though, it has felt like he's been a little bit rushed back into it.
Did he have 3 really good games at the start? Honestly, that's not me.
I think it was 3 straight man of the match performances.
Oh, fair enough. I was because I was going to give him a 4 because like I forgot about those games, and I think based on I know he hasn't played a lot, but similarly to like Rudiger and Christensen, we judged him on what we've seen, and from what we've seen, like you said, coming back from the injury, it looks so poor.
Like, he was brilliant against Burnley. He was brilliant in one Champions League game. He was brilliant against Sheffield United, and he was brilliant against Leeds as well. Though I think he was pretty much man of the match in all of those.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah,
I would have said
a really good start to
maybe even 7.5 to be honest.
I'd give him a 6.5.
Yeah, I don't think you can give him too high just because like we're seeing at the minute that like again some of it is down to the fact that he's been asked to play in a system that doesn't suit him, but at the same time this guy's meant to be world class in terms of passing. We're just not seeing it at the minute.
Yeah,
I mean. He's a victim of injuries because, like, that's basically been the issue. We've only seen him at his peak for about 3 games. The 3 games, very high quality performances, but it's still not really enough to go for. So I'm feeling like somewhere between a 6.5 and a 7. It all depends on you guys and what you're thinking.
Say 6.5.
Yeah, I'd say 6.5
6.5,
personally.
6.5.
Because I don't think it's his fault because he's been injured most of the season, but he just hasn't delivered it like overall, which is not his fault. It's just frustrating for him. But yeah, I want to see Ziyech being utilized a little bit more because I think there's more to him than him just getting it on the inside right channel and just crossing it into the left side. Because if we wanted someone like that, we could have went and scout somewhere on a like a 3-month course for him to do that. I feel like there's more to Ziyech than that. Like you can come through the middle as well, put that over the top through balls for maybe like a Werner or something. And yeah, I just want to see him being utilized a bit more. But I think a 6.5 is fair.
All right, cool. Well, that is the end of the player ratings, which means before we check our actual ratings and see if we want to make any changes, it's time to rate the manager.
Oh boy.
Frank Lampard, and this one is going to be a long one. Guys, what are your thoughts on Frank Lampard's season? We'll go 1v1. Scott, I'll start with you. What's your thoughts?
Honestly, I'm going to say, it might surprise people, I'm going to say like a 4, because I think there's been a few things he's done this season that I think have been quite good. And one of the arguments I can understand from like the Lampard in people is he has actually improved a few players. Like, you look at like James has improved since he's come into the side. Chilwell, I think, has improved a little bit since coming into the side. You look at Zuma, I think, that is down to Thiago Silva a bit, but I also think that the manager has a bit of impact in that. You look at Gilmore is improving. Hudson-Odoi is getting back to what we know he can do. So he's improving players. And we saw that at the start of the season, at least, when it didn't go well, he was willing to change it up. It's just now he found his system. Now he doesn't want to change it. And that's where we've seen the same old. So, like, I wouldn't say it's been absolutely awful, like, the whole season, but it's really not brilliant.
Yeah, Lawrence, what about you? What are your thoughts on Lampard's season?
It's interesting because I would go for the same rating as Scott, but word it slightly less positive. it seemed like Scott was even thinking less and then kind of pushed it higher in his head. And I was like thinking, maybe I'm a bit harsh before.
I agree with you.
I agree with you.
There's a couple of things where I could like rate it lower, but that might just be me like being negative and just because I'm wanting him out at the minute. So
yeah,
I would
also say 4 personally. I would also say 4. Just I don't know. There has been good moments, like people that say there hasn't. There has. We won 4-0 away at Sevilla, and people that say, "Oh, you can't credit Lampard for that." Well, if you can't credit Lampard for that, then you can't blame him for some of the defeats either. It doesn't work.
And that was the second
both ways or no ways.
That was the second team Sevilla, to be fair.
Yeah, and also there was no Mount, so should he really take credit? You know, there was no Mount in that.
But it doesn't matter. He still decided to play that.
I'm just joking.
Yeah. No, I get you. But obviously, the last 6, 7, 8 weeks have been poor. Ever since that Leeds game, it has been poor. There has been a few things that I didn't like. Some comments on Hudson-Odoi. He's saying like, "Oh, it's a lazy start," saying we only scored 1 without him on the pitch. I'm like, bro, no, lazy is you not playing him. That's what's lazy. And then like things like never taking the blame. Like after Leicester, it was like people aren't willing to run. You know, people aren't willing to run against City. People aren't willing to run against Arsenal. Well,
you're not willing to
use yourself. I agree with him on those things. They should be doing those things. But it also comes down to that the manager needs to make sure that I don't agree with managers being responsible for the players being motivated. That I don't agree with. But I do agree with the fact that it's the manager's work to work on the mentality of the players to not drop their heads every time we concede a goal. And every time we concede a goal, we are diabolical for the next 10, 15 minutes and have to hope and pray that we don't concede another 2 or 3. Every single time. It doesn't matter who we play against. It doesn't matter who it is against, whether it's Sheffield United or Man City. Every time we concede, we're on the ropes for the next 10, 15, 20 minutes, every time. And those are things that Lampard needs to address. And the whole crossing and just vibes thing is an issue. I don't think that's necessarily just a Lampard issue because I don't think that's what he wants to do because against Leicester, that's not all we tried to do. We was awful at the back, don't get me wrong, but we tried different things. And when we was 17, whatever, how many games it was unbeaten, it wasn't all bad. We was all happy. He went back to the basics against United, against Sevilla, and then went from there and he got better. And that's true. That is true. Is he the guy to take us to Premier League titles, to Champions League, semi-finals and finals, which we hope for? I don't know. But I think saying he's like a 0, 1, 2, or 3 is harsh. I'd be somewhere between a 4 and a 5, but I think the last 6 weeks push it down to a 4 personally.
Yeah, I don't think it's not been outright like Bob Bradley or Frank the Boer bad, but it definitely hasn't been much positives to take out of it. Kai, chat to me, Matt. Yeah, because I know you didn't agree with that, so chat to me, bro.
I think you guys are doing these ratings with Lampard still wearing the number 8. For me, looking at his numbers and looking at the way he manages, looking at our midfield, the way we attack, the way we counter, the way we defend, by far the worst manager I've seen at Chelsea. By far. And that's not me. Like, you know me, Lewis. I don't fall in love that easily, and same thing with manager. For me, the fact that he, before the game against Leicester, he just came out and said, we don't have an assist machine and we don't have a goal machine, just shows that the guy is man management. He is the kind of guy that if you do something bad to him, he's going to spit in your coffee. That's what Lampard feels like to me. It's like the way
especially these days, that's a bad move. Like,
yeah, the way that we play, I'm shocked. How can a professional title challenger, so-called top 4 team plays as unorganized as we are? And I just feel bad for the players, because like I feel like they come to work every day like not loving what they do. And you can see it on the pitch as well. Like, the players look miserable. Like, look at any of our players when they play; they just don't want to be there. And I sympathize with them to the point, but they shouldn't just completely give up altogether. If you have an issue, take it to the management. Don't just make us fall behind West Ham. But at the same time, the way what we are being managed, I don't think it's sustainable, and I think the club needs to do something. But like I said, it's the worst manager I've ever seen at Chelsea, and I love him as a football player. I love Lampard. He's like my favorite ever. People saying that Hazard is better, just they're not been watching Chelsea enough. But as a manager, oh my God, Thierry Henry vibes all over, man. So I'm gonna give him a 3.5. I cannot give him any more.
All right,
I think also
to you. All right, Ryan, we'll get to you. We're just gonna go around. But Fitness, go on.
Sure.
Yo, I agree with Lawrence and Scott, bro. I mean, I like Kaya still now, but I can't give him like that low. Yeah, I mean, there has been positives at the start of the season and midway the season. Well, not half of the season, but you know what I mean? In between, coming to where we are now. I think he's not been that bad. I mean, yes, Scott said it. He tried to change his system a bit, and Lawrence said he went stuck in his 4-3-3 because he saw it working. When it stopped working, he didn't want to change again, things like that. So I mean, I think 4. I could say 3.5 or 4, but I can just accept like 4.5 is good enough because he has improved players. You get me? He has done a okay job, but not to the standards as what we are used to as fans and what we have seen. Coaches, better coaches like Ancelotti or Conte or the Mourinho's have done. So, Frank, we love him as a player, but as a manager, it's just a learning process. And I think for a club like Chelsea, we can't have a manager that's learning how to be a manager in a time like this where other clubs that we used to dominate in the past are now like miles ahead of us. We need an actual manager that can take at least a season and a half or at least 2 seasons to get us back chasing Liverpool and Manchester City and even freaking Leicester City now. They look like they're gonna leave us now if we don't get a manager that can actually use a tactical side of the game and win games. But so for me, 4.5, 4 between them two, I'm cool with that.
Can we send managers on loan? Or because I don't want to. At the same time, I don't want to sack him, but I don't want him to manage Chelsea. I'm like stuck in a dilemma because I feel it's not just another manager. People who say it is. Can he just be like, hey,
what is
I
happening,
resigned, man? I thought about it yesterday, right? I was talking to my girl and I was like, I love this man so much. He's like, he literally, him and Mourinho was idols for me growing up. I just love the combination.
Yeah, definitely.
But seeing him manage Chelsea and seeing where we are, it just breaks my heart because we know what's coming.
Legends as managers.
Yeah. You know it's gonna happen. You know he's not good enough to take Chelsea to that next level. It seems like he's not good enough to keep us above West Ham, but that's a different point. So it's what do we do now? Because we cannot keep deteriorating our quality because we are getting worse and worse by the game. I feel like at Leicester we were much worse than we were against City because at least against City we tried to fight back. Against Leicester we just accept it's like, oh, we're crap, and something has to be done, and it hurts. It does hurt. People
Yeah,
say,
well.
"Oh, Kai always say he wants Lampard out on the terrace, so he must like really hate him or something." No, I love the guy. That's why it hurts so much to want him out, because it's not what's the best for Chelsea at the moment. And I think all of us can agree that he's not the best for Chelsea at the moment, regardless if you want him to stay or not.
I'm in between a 3.5 and a 4. I think one positive was maybe like that Liverpool game, because we played Liverpool a lot of times last season, and all times we kind of went all guns blazing. In the Super Cup, we played some nice football, but we did expose ourselves at the back a little bit. Same way where we lost 5-3 and stuff. It was kind of like all guns blazing. But when we played them earlier in the season, it was kind of like not park the bus, but sit back and try to utilize Werner with his pace. And had Werner taken maybe one or two chances, and you could see there was a game plan there until Christensen kind of ruined it at the end with the red card, because he might have wanted to get more a bit attacking in that second half. But I think also after what game was it? Was it the Man City game where where we had a 2 weeks break, and now I'm thinking, you know what, I gave you a little bit of sympathy, because during that Christmas break it was like you couldn't even think about the game because you're getting into the next game. It was like you got Everton, and then before you can even speak about it, you're having to do match previews against Wolves, you know what I mean? So you can't really get the players to gel. But you had 2 weeks and Morecambe, who we had to beat. And I was thinking, you know what? You got 2 weeks now. Try to gel these players. Try something new. Change the way we're playing. And who was it we played against? Leicester. Or who was it?
Fulham.
Yeah, Fulham. And I saw nothing changed. We regressed from there. So yeah, I would give him a 3.5. I'd give him a 4, because I've seen some positives this season. But I think it's since he's went to that 4-3-3. And it worked for a little while on that honeymoon period. He hasn't wanted to change it or change stuff in it. And he's just been too stubborn from that.
Yeah.
Okay, so as a final rating, then I think we're getting a 4.5 for Frank Lampard.
I'd give him a 4.
I think it was a 4.
A 4, but okay.
Yeah,
You can give him 4.
All right, cool. We'll go for a 4 for Frank Lampard. Right. Final part of the show, then. We'll go around the panel one more time, because now we finally have the full results going down on the ticker. Lawrence, we'll start with you. Any changes that you'd want to make to any of the players' ratings? Like literally whatever changes you want, we'll change it, and then whoever goes next, if they want to change it, will end up changing back. And whatever the final result is going to be the one that sticks.
All right. I would like to. I'm just letting it run through at the bottom. I would like to change Reece James to an 8. Reece James to an 8, yes.
Okay, Reece James to an 8. Who else?
Who is MA?
Alonso.
Say again?
Marcus Alonso.
Marcus Alonso. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of them are like just the first letter names and surnames, because like we can't get.
No, I get you. No, to be honest, other than Reece James to an 8, I'm fairly happy with that, to be honest.
Okay, so we'll change.
Maybe I'd take Kai down to a 4.5, but I'll accept the 5.
8 and. All right, cool. So we'll keep Kai as a 5. I'll put in the private chat as well for you guys, so you don't have to wait to see it scroll. Scott, you as well next.
I'd just say the only 2 for me would be Pulisic to a 5 and Tammy to a 6, and that's it.
Pulisic to a 5.
7. Fuck.
Wait, so Pulisic to a 5.
And Tammy to a 6, and that's it. Everything else, I think, is fine.
Okay, so Giroud 6.5. And you wanted Tammy to go down to a 6. Right, cool. Kaio, your thoughts? Who do you want to see?
Honestly, you know what? I'm actually happy about all of them. All of them are fine. Except for Billy Gilmore. I'd give him a 6. I don't think he did enough to be a 6.5, but it is what it is, man.
6.5. Where even is Billy Gilmore?
He's next to Cho. It's Billy X Cho.
Oh, yes. Billy 6.
Because he was not as good as Cho. Like, he wasn't carrying us for a few
That
games.
is true. I will say that. That is true.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I can agree with that as well. That's a fair one. Vitmus, what about you? Any changes you want to make? Because you joined us late as well.
Yeah, sorry about that, but Tammy Abraham, we can't put Tammy Abraham and Olivier Giroud on the same score. I don't think that's right.
Oh, now we've lowered him down to a 6 now, but do you want to lower him any more?
Jesus.
Bro, if we really look on Tammy Abraham's performance since the season, bro, is he a 5.5 or a 5?
He's a top goal scorer, mate, in the
it's the
league.
last
For me, the only thing that keeps him there is the top goal scorer in the league is the only thing that keeps him at that 6.
Well,
like the October-November period, I thought it was all right. It's just ever since the Spurs game, it's been a completely different Tammy, in my opinion.
bro,
Yeah.
for me, the man's a 5.5, bro.
You want him as a 5.5? That's cool.
Bro.
No. That's so harsh. That's
Bro,
so harsh.
no, Lawrence, you know you're
The way you said it in the Jamaican accent as well. It's like,
bro.
that's it, convinced.
No, look, no. I'm giving them ratings based on what I've seen and how they play. Bro, I'm not gonna give Tammy Abraham a 6 because he scored 2 goals that any one of us here could score against West Ham.
No, but Timo Werner can't score them.
No,
We've seen that
bro.
all season long.
No, but Timo
You're
Werner,
saying anyone can score them. Timo Werner can't score from on the goal line.
bro, it doesn't matter. When Timo Werner plays, when he misses, he assists, and his work rate is phenomenal. Up and down, up and down, up and down. I've given him credit for his work rate, bro.
You can't hate on Tammy Abraham's work
I'm
rate.
not
I will say he's
hating
not
him,
been good, but not
but
like that.
bro,
Work rate.
The man not good like that, bro. Even last season, just because we have to depend on him, why I didn't really say, "Oh, get him out." But,
But
he's not that good, bro.
but 5.5 is too much. Like I don't think
Yeah, I
Tammy
think that's
is amazing. I don't rate him as high as Lawrence, but a 5.5 is just cruel.
5.5, bro.
The same as Emerson.
5.5.
I'll give him a 6, man.
And
Six.
all right. Oh, are we giving Tammy Abraham a 6 and Thiago Silva a 7.5 when Thiago Silva?
Wait, Vitmus, don't get onto him. I was gonna get onto him, Vitmus, bro. Allow me.
He can't be a
Allow me,
7,
bro. I had that in my head.
bro. I'm giving my honest opinion. Those goals that Tammy Abraham scored was not anything outstanding. We could have scored those goals. So
Timo Werner couldn't, and we paid 50 million for him.
That's for me. Thiago Silva, I don't want to go too far, but I think at least an 8. He deserves at least an 8 or 8.5 because that man has been, apart from Mason Mount, has been our best player too for the season.
That one we can all agree on. Yes, that will change. Cool.
Yeah. I was giving him an 8. I was giving him an 8 because.
Are we gonna pretend? Are we not gonna pretend we're not sitting at 8th with Silva as a centre back? So he's not gonna get an 8 or a 5 or a 9.
Yeah, but I was gonna hang on. Like West Ham are like one place below us. And their centre backs are dog. Like they're
but
so it's not fair to put him as an 8 or whatever. I love Thiago Silva, but
no, you can't look on it that way, Kaya, man. Come on, bro. We are if we were to rate the players based on where we are in the table, none of them would
I'll get 2s.
Yeah, I'll say that.
That's how I rated them, but
no, we are rating on their individual performance, bro. Not where we are in the table.
But Tammy wasn't that bad though. Tammy wasn't as bad as 5.5.
Bro, tell me which game Tammy excites you when you say you can say, "Oh my word!"
I think he's the most boring. I think he's an elephant on a wheel, but that doesn't mean that he's bad overall. I think he was alright. He's not my type of striker.
Good for Tammy, bro.
His link-up play is awful.
I think if you ask me,
no, that was facts, man. One game where Tammy Abraham made me feel like that. I can't give you
true.
one.
He's not an exciting game. Like nobody's gonna wear a Tammy Abraham shirt, like a name on the back of his shirt. But at the same time, he does his work. He scores goals when he needs to. So I can't fault him against 5.5, man. I think it's unfair, man. I think it's unfair.
Bro, I think he's a poacher. Just a poacher.
I'm not being unfair to Tammy, bro. Bro, come on, man. Rate the man from how him play, bro. How him look on the ball.
I feel you. For me, he's a wheat bread. He's not exciting, but at the same time,
if Tammy doesn't get those 2 late goals against West Ham, we drop points in that game as well.
Yeah, we could be 9th or 10th. Jesus Christ. Lawrence, you're not making better. You're not making the case better.
The goals the man scored against West Ham, poor defending, dog.
It doesn't matter. No one else did
it. Doesn't matter. It's a goal.
No,
it's a goal.
No one else was there, was they?
Bro,
Timo Werner's always offside.
Overall performance don't worth a 6 or a 6.5. In my opinion. I'm not forcing you guys to agree with me.
Vitamus, you're like a 3-year relationship, man. You're very hard to please. I'll just keep it 6. 6 is fine. 6 is fine, man. 6 is fine. I think 6
I'll take the 6. But bro, Giroud corner is alright. I'll stop it there. If we can continue all night with this, I'll just end it there. Sorry.
No, it's cool. It's cool. Like,
now you have like
it's your opinion, man.
I've ever had anyone have, so that's why I accept it.
All right, moving on to Ryan. Then Ryan, any changes you want to make?
Silva to an 8. If is that already one, but I'll give Silva an 8 because I just feel like there's a couple of games where I feel like his presence and And it's nothing like last ditch tackles off the goal line or something like that, but it's just like natural blocks, being in the right place at the right time. Sometimes the ball is a little bit short, and he just comes and gets it and just calms everyone down. I just feel like it's things like that that we just needed in our back line, especially last season, especially in parts where he hasn't been playing. And I just feel like because he's just so good at it and he does it so natural, it's kind of overlooked. You know what I mean? But I just feel like the presence Thiago Silva's bring to the team, especially to Zuma as well. He's made Zuma look a lot better, because Zuma was made to look like one of our worst defenders last season, because playing since next to Rudiger and Christensen. But I feel like the presence Thiago Silva brings the team, and just him doing natural things like blocking, especially that United game as well. Just I just feel like he has to get to an 8.
He is good, but look where we're at the table. He has blame to do with this as well. I can't give them an 8 or a 9 after like
the thing is, like, the
things we're doing.
The thing I'd say with that is, again, is like, would you say either of United centre backs are like world class?
No, but I would give them good scores because they're top of the table. So I judge them based on form. I thought that's what we were doing. So
I feel like Thiago Silva's kept some of our scorelines down. Like, if it wasn't,
form, but you also have to take into account the form from the start of the season as well.
Yeah, and I think
I feel like Thiago Silva's kept the scoreline down, because I feel like if it wasn't for him, the scoreline could have got ugly.
I get that, but we have been being bad for the last 2 months almost. It's not like it's like our form has been like good for like a month or something. We've been bad since December. We're almost in February, you know. So that's like 2 months.
I will say one thing. Thiago Silva is the reason why we don't play a higher line and why we can't press as well now, because he's too slow to play a higher line.
Look what happened.
That is a bit of a problem when Frank Lampard tries to actually play pressing football. And this isn't taking anything away from Thiago Silva. That's not necessarily his fault, but it is a bit of an issue and part of why we stop pressing as much. We stop pressing as well. Tiredness and consecutive fixtures and everything does play a part as well. But we tried to play all this high intensity, high pressing football last season, which was the reason why we in the end scraped into or got into the top 4, right? And now we stopped doing all of that. And yes, we're defensively as a unit better, but because so many players have so many lapses of concentration, and because we can't score, it doesn't really put us anywhere else. Hence, I'm accept the 7.5 or an 8, just because he makes other players better. But I don't think we should be running around saying, like, at the start of the season, we was all saying Thiago Silva is the best centre back in the league. All right, we need to calm it down a little bit. Like, Fofana yesterday against Leicester City played better than Thiago Silva has in any game all season. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think he's the best centre back in the league. Like, I'm not pushing for an 8 minimum. I'm pushing for an 8 maximum. Like, I still get why he's a 7.5, but in my opinion, I would like him to get over an 8. Not
Lewis, give him a 7.8. Give him a 7.8 so we can please everybody.
The thing with him 8, man. Come on, bro.
I mean, it is Lewis's channel, so you know what I mean.
Bro,
Lewis is your channel.
The rating changes last.
Bro, but be honest, bro. If we didn't have Thiago Silva in this defense, how much goals I think we'll concede compared to what we have now?
Way more. Way more.
Yeah,
I think you look at like
that's kind of irrelevant though, because at the end of the day we are still 8th or potentially 9th or 10th because he was on the team.
We can't score, Kyle. We can't score. We're not scoring. That's base, bro. Yeah. I was a football player back when I used to live in Jamaica, bro. If you can't score, then the other team can't score. But we are soaking up so much pressure. The defense need to get a rest by our attackers scoring. When we score 2-3 goals, that kills the morale of the opponent, bro. But when you allow your opponents to keep high and say, oh, yes, Chelsea can't score, so we can keep at it till we get our goal, then it's a lot of pressure on the defense, bro.
I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying he's bad. That's all very sad and nice. But the reality is we are sitting very low in the table. And I cannot give him an 8 or a 9 based on this. If you were 4th or 3rd, I'll give him an 8 easily, but we're not.
Then how much you give Mount? How much you give Mount?
I would give Mount a 7, but it's not up to me.
No, you can't give him 7 then because we're still in 8 or 9 players. That's what I'm saying. We can't judge it from where the position the club is.
But I gave Thiago Silva a higher.
Messed up the season is in general.
No, but I gave Thiago Silva a higher rating than I give Mount. So obviously I rate his job more than Mount. I just don't think any of our players deserve an 8 if we are sitting at the bottom half of the table.
No, but we are judging on individual performances, bro.
But individual performances are the reason we are here as well. I can't just blame the manager.
Not from everyone. Not from everyone.
Not from everyone, yeah.
Not from everyone, bro. You get me?
I don't know. I think 8 is very 7.5 is very. It's fine for Thiago Silva.
You look at, like we've touched on, you look at some of the goals we're conceding, and they're not Thiago Silva's fault, or like not in just singularity. Like for example, you look at yesterday, you could blame him in the sense of like the second goal because he was high, but the whole team was high on that second goal, the whole back line, and then like.
What about the
only goal which is really
was his fault? The Gundogan goal was his fault.
Well, come on, man.
Really?
The Foden goal was his fault as well. He was on his way back already and didn't make the last
finish into the bottom corner.
What goal was that?
Gundogan's first goal against us in the City-Chelsea match. It was a good finish from him.
That's just a turn. Like any centre back in the league can get done by that. Van Dijk's been done by that.
But this is Gundogan. We're not talking the pace of Mane or Pulisic in the turn or Hazard. This is Gundogan.
Still a good move.
Yeah,
Don't take it away from
it is a good move, but you still look bad. I'm not saying he's now an awful centre back, but he still could have done better with it.
I know, but looks bad means it looks bad. But
how many times?
It was a good bit of play.
How many times has Thiago Silva been turned like that, bro? He made it difficult for the player to get off a clear shot on goal. The goalkeeper seen it coming and still allowed it to score, bro. He should have saved that. So
if anything, Mendy got a hand to it.
Yeah, how much would you give him? How much would you give him? How much would you give him? How much would you give Vitamos? How much would you give Silva? Vitamos, how much would you give?
Eight.
Fine, 8.
8, I think fair. I'd stick with an 8 as well.
Because
Ryan, you didn't make any changes though, did you?
Just for the Jamaican accent.
I just said Silva 8.
Thiago Silva 8. Right, I'm gonna have a look at this now and make some changes. What changes do I want to make? Edouard Mendy's calm. I'm happy with Giroud. I can go with Tammy Abraham. Jorginho 4, Asby, Rudiger, Kovacic 5, Pulisic 5, James 8, Thiago Silva 8, Chilwell 6.5. Yeah, I'll keep that. Alonso could go lower than a 1, but I'll give him it for credit anyway. Kante 6.8. Christensen should be 10, but I'll leave my agenda at the door. Billy Gilmore 6. Hudson-Odoi 6.5. Kepa 2. I'll be real. Emerson having a higher rating than both Kai Havertz and Timo Werner is
I beg you. Remember that Spurs goal as well, fam. Forget
that. I can't lie. I might move. Emerson is just going straight down to a 5, like just for the sake of it.
You guys are doing a Lampard. He was all right.
5.5.
No, it's not fair. Emerson was all right.
I'm gonna. Timo can stay at a 5. Kai Havertz will go up a little bit more. Emerson 5, Zuma 7, Ziyech 6, Lampard 4. Other than that, I'm fine.
I have a question to you guys. Would you consider getting a world-class goalkeeper in the summer? I know Mendy has been good for us, but he is making.
Potter, by the way. I said 8 and meant it.
Do you think we can win a Premier League title with Mendy? I don't know.
I think the thing I'd say is I think there's a position we need to improve more. Like goalkeeper, I say is probably like 3rd or 4th on the list in terms of where to get.
Yeah.
And there's other positions we need to look at first before we start going for a goalkeeper, especially because going for that world-class goalkeeper like Old Black's been mentioned is going to cost us 80-90 million. Again, it's going to be another one of those.
So would you rather spend 80 million on somebody who...
No, we're not going to get Old Black full stop. He's going to win La Liga this season.
Oh, no, I know, but I'm saying that's the type of player that we've been touted in terms of...
but that Roman money could be decisive, as well, like release clause.
How would he leave? Like, it's been there for so many years.
No, I'm not saying he would. It's more... In terms of the goalkeepers, the only ones I've been mentioned are him or Donnarumma, and I'm talking if you want to go to world-class level we've just talked about. I'm just
asking you guys if you're happy with Mendy, like if you would keep him.
I'm happy with like he's a decent option at the minute, and for me, I'd rather go and get a CDM in the summer rather than anything else. Like I don't want us to go another year with no proper CDM.
I think there's other positions that might be holding us back. I don't think it's like Mendy now, with our squad. It might not be like enough to win us the league this season, maybe. But I just feel like if we get a perfect CDM, it doesn't have to be Rice, but just a perfect CDM.
It shouldn't be Rice. Maybe perfect CDM.
No. Just because everyone says Rice, just like a perfect CDM, and then maybe a centre back as well, because Thiago Silva's aging. So if we get a good centre back, someone like Thiago Silva with a bit more pace, and then maybe I don't know, some good depth as well. For Christmas, for that Christmas period next season, and if we have Mendy in goal, plus a proper manager as well, a world-class manager, I don't think Mendy's going to be the guy holding us back, like I don't know, like Kepa Because if it wasn't for Kepa last season, we might have got second. I don't think it's going to be
Nah, I wouldn't say we'd have got second without Kepa. I wouldn't.
a scenario like that. I just don't think it's going to be a scenario where to the Premier League tells you're going to save us time after time. But I think Mendy can still, with a perfect team, I don't think he's going to hold us back.
No, for him have a point, man. If Kepa was better last season, we would have finished higher than we finished. Definitely, I agree with that point right there.
I think the goalkeeper, if you have a really good team overall, the goalkeeper isn't the be-all and end-all. The goalkeeper is very important when the rest of the team isn't very good. Because if you play really well, the goalkeeper is not very often going to be decisive on results. Hence why I think we can win the league with Mendy. Is he the best goalkeeper in the world? No. But I also think that he can improve. Like, mind you,
Lawrence, do you say that because us Chelsea fans were spoiled? So I don't know how old you are, but like through our entire time, we had Courtois, we had Peter Cech, we always had like those good goalkeepers. So are we underestimating the ability?
Man City won the league with Edison, and I don't think he's that good of a goalkeeper.
Edison is good, man. Yeah, come on.
He's great with his feet, but as a goalkeeper shot stopper, he's good. But
I agree with Lawrence.
I think I agree. And like you look at like some of the other goalkeepers in the league, like Newcastle have got 2 quality goalkeepers in terms of shot stopping, and they're doing absolutely nothing. Arsenal, for me, like for all their like we take the piss, they got a good goalkeeper, but again because their defense is shit, it like they end up conceding so many anyway, which isn't always Leno's fault. So like we could have a world class goalkeeper if the people in front of him are shit, it won't matter.
Yeah, but remember when we had football, we suffered one season. We just keep conceding goals after goals after goals.
Scroll up a bit. Yeah. Look. Mendy doesn't make us nervous. I don't think he makes the defenders nervous.
I agree that a bad goalkeeper can make us
nervous. I don't think it's a case of that. I don't think it's the Kepa situation where the defense has no faith in the keeper and the keeper has no faith in the defense. I still feel like Mendy doesn't make our defense nervous. Like he might not save us 9 times out of 10 with a clear-cut chance, but I still don't think he makes our defense nervous. I think he's a decent goalkeeper. Not world-class, not the ones you put with Neuer or Ter Stegen and stuff like that, but I still think he's a decent keeper.
Funny enough, Neuer did say he's world-class, but I think Neuer is just taking the piss, but okay. Yeah.
Yo, may I have one thing to say?
Yeah, he did. He said like he's a very, very good like world-class keeper. In one interview I saw.
Look, Messi's talking about Mason Mount, man. Like, anything can happen.
Sorry, Ryan.
And I was just bringing on Kai's point that Messi talks about Mason Mount. Like players just talk about each other, anyways. They just get names out of the hat and speak.
Did he really talk about Mason Mount? Because like,
I don't know. But
what was the context of this? Like he was eating cotton candy and he was just like, "Oh, Mount is a very good player." Like
there's a hat with random players' names on it, and be like, and interviewers just get and be like, "Oh, Mason Mount, Messi." What do you think about him?
He was up for his top 5 young players, I think, and he named Mount as one of them.
Yeah, man, something, Lewis.
Go on.
I think Scott too, but the other guys, Lawrence and Kayo and Ryan can give their point on this. But I've watched over the game yesterday after we lost, and I know that Rudiger has been the one to be blamed. But after watching that goal again, bro,
you're a sadist, man. Why would you watch that again? Why would you watch that again?
No, it was not like literally watch the whole.
We're talking about the second goal against Leicester because I can just put it up right now.
It was a match of the day, man. It was a match of the day. I was watching the highlights. Bro, yes, Rudiger came out of position to try and jump for a ball at the half line, but the man ran back and still was with Jamie Vardy. Bro,
he punched him in the face. He punched him in the face when he got back. He didn't get back and defend it.
That was nearly a penalty, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he was still there. Not that he just ran away, left him. He was actually there beside him. He just nudged him to get him out. But I'm saying, bro, we keep defending Reece James too. I mean, we love him and he's playing very good. But if I had to look back at the Wolves game and maybe 1 or 2 other games after the Wolves game where he almost gave a penalty, lucky that VAR took the penalty from Wolves.
But he didn't because it wasn't a foul.
No, that was a
almost gave away a penalty.
Wasn't it?
What?
It was a dive, wasn't it?
No, he actually did touch Neto, but they said there wasn't any. That wasn't enough.
I didn't see a touch there, bro.
Yeah, but here's the thing: they said that wasn't enough for the Wolves game. I say the penalty against Arsenal wasn't enough.
No, compare the penalty against Arsenal, bro. But let me tell you, bro, it was the same instant decision. I mean, when as a defender, bro, if the playmaker beats you and makes his way into the box and you're behind him, there's no way you should push your foot, bro.
So
He did it against Wolves and we got away. Then he did it against Arsenal, but we weren't so lucky. And then even that Leicester game, yes, I'm not saying that Wolves Reece James is not a good player, but I'm saying if I'm comparing Reece James from last season to this season, it's not the same player. You get me?
Yeah, he's better.
He's tired though. He's tired as hell. Like imagine you face every game.
No, I'm just saying
defensively, bro.
He's not like cautious with how he's tackled, bro. There's no, I mean,
I think you're saying that was based on recent games, and recent games, it just looks like he's being rushed back from injury too much. Granted, we wanted him back for the Leicester City game, so I don't even mind that he played it.
But we don't know the injury situation like Frank should.
Yeah, like with us, we're just speculating. We're saying, okay, he hasn't started the Fulham game. He should be fresh in time for the Leicester match. He didn't look fresh in that game. Like the Reece James we've seen before the Arsenal game, best right back in the league. And I mean that because his performances defensively and offensively stood to that. I think if we had better finishers who didn't disrespect his crosses throughout 2020, I think that would already be fact by now. But the only thing is half of the crosses are going towards Tammy Abraham or they're going to Werner or Pulisic. They're all good quality crosses. It's just the players in the middle are never getting to them.
I mean, Trent Alexander-Arnold made it to Team of the Year and is defensively worse than Reece James. So I don't think we can talk about like, do you know what I mean? Like, I agree. Like, I agree with Witness that Reece has his frailties defensively. He's not wrong by saying that, but that doesn't necessarily mean he should get like a lower rating because everyone does do things wrong. I mean, you could say the same about Mason Mount. Like Kai said earlier, realistically, all of our ratings are too high. Like, if we're going to be totally honest with ourselves, none of them should be anywhere near this high. We're 8th, we're 9th. Like, we should, like, come on.
But also take into account the season. Like, we're still how close are we off top 4 now at this point? I don't even want to look at it.
Don't even do it.
I know it's annoying, but how far off we?
I want to say we're like
Lawrence.
Look at the games in hand as well. Look at the games in hand. Don't do it like the Lampard did. We're like,
right,
6 points above, like 3 games less.
It's 2 or 5 points, but they have a game in hand, something like that.
It's 5 points, and we haven't got any games in hand on Liverpool either.
No, they've got
Everton
one game in hand,
and Villa underneath us that have more games in hand. That's just
3 games in hand.
3 games, oh my days. Listen, like,
I get that, but second half of the season as well, games are getting more and more cramped. Those 3 games in hand aren't going to look that favourable to them.
You know what's great?
We're still judging on right now, bro. We're not judging on what could happen in the second half of the season.
I know, but we're all speculating about the first half of the season as well because of how cramped it is. There's a lot of speculation in general, so we have to.
I have some great news for you guys. All the big games that we have coming up are away. How great is that?
I'm
playing City away.
I'm not having that excuse.
United away.
It's no difference.
We had Liverpool and Man United away for last 6 weeks of Sarri's season. We still got 3rd, so anything can happen.
Yeah, like
we might even have a different manager by then.
I think we're doing the Sarri thing all over again. That 5 million. That 5 million is not leaving the bank, man. We're gonna leave it to the last minute.
Like, I swear it's so cold up in Germany as well, so they'll be used to the cold if we get a German manager.
What about the super chat?
Yeah, I was going to ask as a final question because I also know everyone wants to get off as well. Final question. Thank you for the donation. Do you guys still believe in Ruben Loftus-Cheek? I do think it's still a far way to go. Like, the Fulham move was completely the right call. Whether we say that we need a number 8 or not, he wouldn't have had the game time that he would have had at Chelsea. Wait till you see what he's saying at the end of the season. Like, right now, I still think it's very early to tell. He's doing okay for Fulham over the last few games. Like, he's doing all right for them, but there's still a long way to go in terms of being Chelsea quality. I believe in the Ruben Loftus-Cheek I saw before the injury. And if he can get back to that quality, yeah, why not? But it's all about the journey there first.
I think as well, I don't think this loan's going to be enough, if I'm being completely honest. I think after this loan, I think he needs one more loan. I think he needs a bigger loan, though. I don't want to see it like a relegation.
Will he be like 29?
If he needs another loan, he's done. He's 24. He's going to turn 25. You can't have another loan. Like, either he gets it or he doesn't, in my opinion.
Come on.
But then you look at a 27 or a 28-year-old Ruben Loftus-Cheek who could be absolutely balling out for another club.
Lewis, let's not do a Goldberg. He's not gonna just be amazing after this many injuries, after this many loans. We need to cash out on him. Just let's move on from a club. Let's stop being attached to players who are not.
Okay, then even at
He's
the
not
worst
all that.
case, do you
He's
not think?
all that.
Okay, at the worst case, then, do you think Ruben Loftus-Cheek, if he could get back, would be a good squad player for the team?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, decent.
Then why would it be such a bad move to send him on another loan?
Because
Lawrence,
he's a big
he
wage.
needs a loan,
One at a
bro.
time, one at a time, one at a time. Vitmus will start with you. Then
No, I'm
Lawrence.
just saying to Lawrence that he needs another loan, bro. If we keep Ruben compared to the squad that we have now and what if a next manager comes in and what he's going to add, Ruben is not going to get any game time. So at the age of 24, turning 25, I think one more loan to try and get the spark. If it don't
It
work,
won't harm him
then
too
sell
much.
him.
It's not like he's on his last legs as well. I just feel like he needs that one more loan, either in Germany or a club that's competing, or in a Premier League team like Everton or something like that. He's not a top 6 team, but somewhere around that. So, and then when he comes back to Chelsea after that, I want him to be like hungry for a spot. Like I don't want him to come back and be like, my legs are still this here and there, and then he's a squad player, and then we just see him passing sideways and stuff. I want the Loftus-Cheek back from 2018-19, and if he doesn't fair play, we can cash in on him. But I just want to see him having one more loan move, and I just don't think this Fulham move's enough.
Yeah, I
All
think
right, Lawrence, Kaio, Scott, and then we'll wrap it up.
Well, first of all, Kai said, don't be too attached. Well, it's not going to happen with me and Ruben. So I am very attached.
Yeah, I was very
that's it
attached.
for me. And hey, I will say that. But the thing is for me now, if we always go by that logic and every player needs a loan until they are a regular starter, then you will never have squad depth. That will never exist in football then. If everyone needs loans until they're ready to be a starter, because you can't start everybody. You need rotation. And not enough game time. We only have 2 8s right now because all the other ones aren't 8s. Kovacic isn't an 8. Kovacic is a nothing player. I'm sorry. But, he's no good in any position because he doesn't score, doesn't assist, and doesn't do nothing. And I know I'm being harsh here, and that's because I'm talking about Ruben. But we have 2 8s, Kai and Mount. That's it. And people be telling me Kai isn't even an 8. So don't be telling me we have too many players in that position when we don't have enough players in that position. If we play a 4-3-3 all the time and play 2 8s every game, we don't have enough players there. We're not going to sign another player in that position realistically. But again, I believe in the guy. He's got a lot better the last 2 games. And I'm not saying he's going to come back and start every game next season. But you need to start from bloody somewhere.
Nah, it's just like with Loftus-Cheek. I just feel like if he can get back to the heights he was before the end of the season, like I'm not gonna say the same thing about Barkley. Like, give him one more loan, give him 2 more loans, and then he'll come back and he'll be this and that. I just feel like I feel like with Barkley it's finished. But I just feel like with Loftus-Cheek, I'm not emotionally attached to anything, but I just feel like with Loftus-Cheek, you can he can get that one more loan move, and then if he finds back his form, if not, then we can cash on in.
Nope.
In 20, 30 million, you can go, we can part ways. But I just feel like maybe a season, and then come back. And then if we see the old Loftus-Cheek, then it's great. If we don't, we can cash in on him. He's still going to be 26, 27. He won't be 31, 32, but we have to sell him to Arsenal. You know what I mean? So I just feel like one more loan move won't hurt.
Yeah, I think the only problem I have with the loan move is that there's a good, like, for all we know, if he goes out on loan, we get someone in to replace him, and then that's basically him done, because trying to get back in when you've bought someone. The only thing I would say, like, realistically, to be like frank as kind of a final point, is, no pun intended with the Frank, is we don't know. Like, we don't know how it's going to go, because there's a very likely chance that Loftus-Cheek has gone out on loan been sent out on loan by one manager, is going to come back to another manager. And for all we know, this manager might not fancy him, might not have exactly what he's looking for in a player, it might not be quite the type of player he's looking for. There might be.
Or he might start him every game.
No, yeah, exactly. Like we don't know, because we don't know what type of player the next manager that comes in is going to look for in that midfielder. Whether it's going to be a Loftus-Cheek type player, or it's going to be like a Jorginho type player, which we just don't know. Is the honest truth of it? We have no idea.
You know what's funny? It's very out of context, but I saw some Twitter posts of Loftus-Cheek saying that his favorite manager was Sarri.
I saw that, yeah.
I saw it today. Yeah.
And then
It's the only manager who played him. Who played him? So
And also N'Golo Kante saying that the only manager he felt like he had the most freedom with was Maurizio Sarri, but your dolls will make you say otherwise. But
and then the Sarri haters are banging the wall right now, man.
I know, and it is beautiful.
Can I talk about Loftus-Cheek? I don't know if you guys been forced by your girlfriends to watch the movie Frozen, but basically let it go, man. Let it go. I wanted Ruben Loftus-Cheek to work out, but come on, the guy, his legs is made out of biscuits. They always break. He was always injured somehow.
Nah, but come on,
to let it go.
come on, no man.
You've
It's
got
not
to
like
believe
Ross
in people,
Barkley.
bro. You've got to believe in people. I've been watching that kid since he's 16. I'm not giving up on that guy. I will not give up on that guy. I don't care what.
Nah, he's not Ross Barkley. Come on now, like Ross Barkley got a full season under Sarri. Got that half this season against with Conte. He got that season with Lampard, and it's not like an injury ruined him. We just saw he's not consistent enough. But with Loftus-Cheek, it was kind of like he was getting into his mode with Sarri until we got that big injury, which could potentially ruin his career. So I just feel like there's still something there with Loftus-Cheek, and I just feel like it's a match sharpness thing.
I think Lampard just didn't rate him. I don't think Lampard is a big fan of him and his style, because he doesn't like when his midfielders are a bit freer. If that makes sense, because Ruben likes to drift apart a little bit. So I don't think it was due to the injury alone. I think it was due to
But that's
more.
the thing. Lampard's not gonna. The most Lampard's getting to is the end of the season. So that, in my opinion, unless he does something spectacular. So who's to say another manager won't come and get him, especially if it's someone like Asari. He likes that ball rotation.
Imagine if it's Sarri again and he comes with a cigar, and he's like, "I'm back," Jesus Christ.
Sorry, it's interim until the end of the season.
Imagine at Stamford Bridge. Imagine those fans. Oh my god!
You know how much I'd be drinking the tears of every Yadar.
Oh, I'd love it.
I would
be glorious.
I would be using it to make medicine, man. That's how much it would be perfect.
Sorry, get off those cigarettes. I got something better for you, G. But hey, this is the end of the live.
Let me say one more thing, man. Sorry,
go off. You got one more point. Go for it.
That Sarri period was so toxic. Like I went to a Europa League game in that 2018-19 season, innit? So it must have been maybe like a later round of 32 game or like a group stage game, innit? Just like a nothing game, Europa League. And these people were still shouting Sarri out. Word of a lie. It was like 1-0, 2-0, whatever. And they were still shouting Sarri out. And then, oh my days, that period was so toxic.
Yeah, they were booing. Wait, what's this new thing that's just come up from Sam Fields? Roman Abramovich may have to wait until the. Okay, that's just clear. Nagelsmann won't leave mid-season.
Yeah.
That was it. Someone told me to check out Simon Phillips' latest tweet.
It's best. But the only issue that's kind of keeping it is because RB Leipzig is not poor, If they were in need of money,
they need to get rid of their best manager right now that they've had probably in their whole fucking history. So of course they ain't gonna get rid of him right now.
I think they're younger than me in Leipzig. I can't lie.
No word of a lie.
Leipzig are younger than me.
I think they were created in like 2003. No word of a lie.
Wasn't it like 2010?
Wasn't it 2007?
More than I would.
It's honestly not that long. It's like a decade at least. But
all right, cool. Well, guys, I know we've been going for a lot longer than we expected to go for, but big up the panel for staying on for so long. The link to Lawrence's channel, the link to Vitmus's channel, and Kai's channel, and Ryan's are all down in the description below, as well as on the title for Lawrence and Vitmus's channel. So go and check that out. Scott as well, link to his Twitter, literally in his name, Scotty Page 132. I'm going to leave that in the description below as well. And guys, let us know if you agree or disagree with any of the ratings that we've done down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I might be back later tonight for a 20k Q&A, maybe. It depends how long the podcast goes. But check out the Blue Balls podcast, which should be out at 8 p.m, I think. 8:30, something like that. We'll go live then. But until then, guys, take care. I hope you guys have enjoyed this live. And yeah, up the Chelsea.